Oh, I'm muted. Welcome. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing great, doing great.
Good.
How about yourself?
Good.
Doing very good, thank you.
Thanks. So, welcome to the social hour. We have taken a little hiatus. We had lots going on. I was in the midst of like planning stuff for the final round of the semester. Jackie, she is off for a moment. She'll be on later tonight. She's actually in the process, similarly to me earlier in the semester, to applying to further her education. Abiola has been doing lots always with work with kids, and she went out of the country to her hometown of Guyana. Queen, what about you? What have you been into lately?
Just trying to stay sane.
Yes. Yes.
Not hurt nobody.
And then we have another guest tonight that is new to the stream, Saida. That is, I'm pronouncing it correct, right? I want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's Saida.
One more time.
Saida.
Thank you. Sorry.
You were pronouncing it correct. Don't worry. Sometimes people say Saida or Saida. It's fine.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself. We're glad to have you on the stream tonight. How are you doing?
Sure. I'm doing very good, and thank you very much for the invite and having me here. Yes, my name is Saida. I am from El Salvador. I'm 35 years old, a proud mother of a 9-year-old daughter, and just pretty much here to enjoy and learn from you guys.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll be learning from you as well. I always love to hear from all of our panelists, and they add so much. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. We were already only doing 2 weeks. All of us are teachers or in the service industry. Queen is a social worker. What is your career field, Saira?
Actually, I am a trainer coach. It's teaching pretty much, but it's not school related. It's more like, I'm teaching a product pretty much. But yeah, that's what I do.
So I did a little stalking social media before. So you're doing like health and wellness, like training in that way?
No, not related to coaching, like personal coaching, physical coaching. No, it's product like
Oh,
so
okay.
it's a company that I'm teaching them what to do. It's more like customer service related and sales. So sales
Okay.
experts, I'm teaching them how to sell or how to deal with a customer on on the phone.
Okay. That's still a lot. Just dealing with people in general in the world is a lot
Oh
nowadays,
yes.
especially. I definitely worked in the service field a lot. Shout out to everybody in the chat as well. See, Truth is never favored. She stole my thunder. Arshawn Dave. Thank y'all for checking out tonight. We're excited y'all are here. So again, our regular co-host Jackie, she'll be on in a little bit. If she's not now, let me make sure. Says not connected. Okay, well, she's trying. She definitely had a flat. So I know that's again being flexible, rolling with the punches with all the craziness going on. Thank you, K Marion. Thank you so much. Yes, 100%. Let's go, teachers. Teacher yourself. We know you're working hard out there in Cali. So tonight's topic title is a lot just because that's literally the vibe I feel like in the world that is occurring. Just a lot. Oh, there she is. Hi, Jackie. How are you? Oh, I don't know if she can hear me. She's trying to be a trooper out here with her car flat on the interstate, trying to be on the show still. That's dedication. So we appreciate you trying. I don't know if she can hear us.
I'm on now. I got it.
Oh, okay. Hi, ma'am.
Hey, I'm doing good.
Good. We are so sorry that you're experiencing this, but that's like I said, true dedication coming through regardless.
Right.
So how was your day? We just literally just started talking just to get to know each other and just fill everything out before we get into all the juicy craziness that's going on right now.
It was going good until I had that flat. Oh,
Oh,
girl.
so it was just a blowout on the interstate.
No, I didn't have a blowout.
Okay.
I seen in my car where the pressure was getting low. I said it had to be a nail in it. So I called AAA.
Oh.
They took, they took me and I told them where to take me, and they passed the tire up, but they had people ahead of me. That's oh Lord, I'm not gonna make this whole time.
No, it's
But
fine.
it all worked out.
I appreciate you trying so hard regardless. And even your son was like, I'll call her. I was like, oh my gosh, the dedication, the love. Okay. So tonight we are talking about something that might sound like, how is this going to be connected to the picture? So we're discussing The Matrix Seems Broken. So first of all, everybody who's on the panel, what are your thoughts on the movie The Matrix? Have you ever seen The Matrix? What do you know about The Matrix? We'll just start there very broadly. What do y'all think?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? Okay.
No.
What do you think, Jackie? Or you say you haven't. Abiola, have you ever seen it?
I've never seen it in totality. I've always seen it in little pieces. So and the little pieces were very interesting. So I can't really have that broad of a discussion on that.
You're fine. You're fine. Well, I'm setting out kind of like a teacher's, what do you call it? Like an outline for that purpose. But I wanted to know what people knew first. So what about you, Sierra? Do you know about the film series, The Matrix at all?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not a big fan.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm a disappointment when it comes to TV. I don't watch that much TV.
That's totally fine. You're fine. I'm not that knowledgeable about it. My boyfriend is, but it ties in with today's topic well. So, Queen, what about you? How do you feel about the series, the Matrix series?
I love it.
So since you're always go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say, since you're always so wise, I want to know what you think of how that's gonna tie in with today's topics based on the intro picture. So it's got Ketanji Brown Jackson, Will Smith, Jada, and then we have, of course, the Chris Rock, Will Smith. Then we have the Kim, Yee, and Pete Davidson. How do you think all that could tie in with the Matrix theme?
Well, I would think we are all connected with these people through social media and the internet, and how it can either be a benefit or a detriment to us. Exactly. And how much of it do we soak up, how much of it do we retain, and how much do we hold on to it? Like everything you see is not truth. It's fake news all day. And
Right.
some people are so consumed with it that that's how they live their everyday life in it, in the matrix. Never check out, never go into reality. Some people live in what is it called? The metaverse. But
Mm-hmm.
that's why what was it called? Sims.
Mm-hmm.
Sims was so popular because you can create a person and a life that a lot of people would never live. So
Exactly.
that's what I think about the Matrix.
Okay. Well, you are very, very close. We're going to go even deeper because hopefully, even beyond like social media, just other aspects of it as well, beyond just the internet. But I definitely hear what you're saying about making, virtual realities. There was even some episode the other day, it was in the background while I was grading. I know everyone has heard of or seen that show where the person was basically lied to about a relationship and catfish. Have y'all ever heard of that show? Catfish? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the people that was on there, they were making some virtual reality and they never met the person. They kept up a relationship for like 4 or 5 years. And I just can't imagine having a full, fulfilling relationship through, like, you don't even know what the person sounds like, looks like. It's just like a robot. But again, that's sometimes people's limited experience viewpoint. And if you are inside of one of those small viewpoints, then it's harder for you to see other people's perspectives or beyond your own opinions. So hopefully we'll be talking about those aspects tonight. And then we're going to go a little deeper and look at some specific things. So I'm going to go ahead and share some things to get us started. But I just wanted to get intro perspectives first before I told y'all what I thought. Because my opinion is literally what we just said, just one in a huge, huge, huge universe. All right, I am going to share. Let's see if we're getting it working. I might need some help from my social media gurus. Well, never mind. It just says processing. So while it's processing, there we go. Add to stream. All right, here we go. So again, tonight our topic, we are talking about the Matrix seems broken. We got myself, Jackie, Abiola again. We're excited everybody was able to make it. And then we have guest Saira, and then Queen is always here, amazing, supporting us. We love y'all. So again, if you're not super familiar with the Matrix, just the whole idea of it is what I'm wanting to introduce and propose. So the newest Matrix version, I definitely was not super into it when they first came out. Like I said, my boyfriend was, but the newest one in 2021, I did get dragged to the theater to go see. And so that one is talking about when you convert ordinary people into these swarms of murderous hate bots, and they're trying to protect a grip on power. And creators of the film that were basically bragging about how easy it is to control people with feelings rather than facts and logic. So that's like the whole idea. So with that being said, now, how would y'all say that is connected to our current world if we're thinking about murderous hate bots protecting our control on power that we definitely don't have control over? What do y'all think? Connected to us, connected to the real world. What do you think, Abby?
Yeah, when they said there that I'm reading murderous bots to protect its grip on power. In today's society, we see a certain class of people that holds the biggest amount of power. So the people that are on the bottom, to get to that power place, it's really, really difficult because it takes it. I would even think that you cannot get to that place. They make you feel like you can get to that place with hard work, and that comes across like in the situation with I'm gonna bring it up before we even get into it with Kim Kardashian saying that we need to get up. We go out there as women and we work hard every day, and literally, striving for greatness, going to school, trying to get masters, PhDs, and all of that. We doing the work, but it's just taking us longer versus her path to where she got to where she is. So that's my opinion on that because
No, you're good. I like that you brought it up. It is definitely transition us because we are definitely going to go way deep into that. Her comment that was way out of touch with the real society, most of us, right, our real reality. Thank you to all of you in the chat. I see again, truth is never favored. Big Rig Slaps, Apex Alpha Simp. Thank y'all for showing up. Thank you for supporting. All right. So Now, the next portion in the film, again, there were like these swarms of basically like these robot people. And so they trigger, so they're representing technology that is triggering either us as users. And I know all of us can probably associate with this with like our students. I know as it is going forth with all the different social media apps and everything, it's like students cannot focus as much in the classroom because they have this need to be instantaneously entertained with TikTok,
Right.
super fast swiping, or they're playing their video games, and that's what they're focused on. And it's so fast paced. And if you're not able to, entertain them in that quick manner in the classroom, they cannot either focus or it's debilitating them. So on a deeper level, though, in the film, they are saying that Neo and the bots in the Matrix, they are literally engaging anytime, and it's acting as like this allegory for us as modern social media and how the algorithms, right, are designed to engage the general public on a daily basis. But just like Queen said earlier, that engagement can be positive or it can be very negative, and it's all about you and your boundaries. If you're put in that do not disturb on, right? When you need that boundary from social media, or when you need to say, nope, no more looking at the phone or the computer or TV or whatever it is for the day, because you have to focus on you and your real life and your real goals, not just what Hollywood's doing or what films are doing or what even politics are doing. So what are y'all's takes on that piece of it about like the swarm technology triggers? What do you think, Saira?
Well, I think we're very close to all that type of, influence that causes in all of us. And definitely, I can relate because I want to first appreciate you breaking down the entire thing because I was like, a little lost for a moment. But I appreciate that. And I have to say, I believe, how can I relate it to Will Smith's situation? I believe they kind of see their relationship as a business, and they want to entertain. They're entertainers, and that's what they want to do. And sometimes they might think like, I think he lost it. He didn't know that was in the right place to do what he did. And he just wants to keep up with, he's still going to be Will Smith regardless. After this, a year from now, nobody's going to remember. They're going to be talking about something else. But I think that's what he's trying to protect is the brand that his marriage is. So he's just entertaining, and just like you said, everything out there on the media, it's either positive or negative, and it's about how you take it, your boundaries, and not just that, but how much you believe in this stuff, because there's a lot of things that are totally wrong. This is not true. There was a video actually where supposedly Chris Rock apologizing to him, but I was looking at the video very detailed, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the haircut that Chris Rock had. So I had to literally go over, and I'm not gonna let this say, yes, Chris Rock actually apologized to Will Smith. I didn't, I couldn't just believe, the video they were presenting. I'm like, no, that's probably someone else. And that's how it is, nowadays you don't have to fully trust the source. You kind of have to dig in a little bit. So,
yeah. Yes. Exactly. I know a lot of people, I like that you said in about a year, people will not talk about this anymore, because I think so many interviews now have gone on since this just happened on Sunday night. And some people were like immediately, like I saw Amanda Seals. I love her. She made like a whole song saying like, I'm sick of talking about this shit. Like, I don't want to hear anything else. She was showing pictures of Will Smith, Chris Rock, Whoopi Goldberg, everybody's opinion. And then, the gentleman that plays Harry Potter, he was like, honestly, when they interviewed him, he was talking about his new film, and he's like, I don't need to be an opinion in this. Sometimes you don't have to address a situation, right? You do not have to. I love that Apex just said unplug from the hamster wheel. Definitely. He said, I give it another week. I agree. I heard another interview with two sports gentlemen on another stream this week with Knowledge and Relationships. And they were saying that, used to, if this had gone on like 3 weeks on real world news, when it was just you're watching on TV, it would have gone on longer and people would have been into it more. But now if you're swiping every day, people have 50 million memes. They're sick and tired of it. They don't want to hear any more about it. But it's almost like they still can't stop. It's like they're still drawn in, even though they're like, oh, this is annoying. And that's what, like you said, it's like a business to them to continue keeping this drama literally going. And it has even if it was not intentional, even if it was not planned, like so many people have conspiracies, right? Did it even really happen? I know my dad, when my dad's making memes and evaluating this, it's gone too far. I was like, no more. I don't want to hear anymore. But he was like, oh yeah, they used to have these old videos where they were practice, and Will Smith, him and my boyfriend were talking about it, had taught this young man how to slap after he was filming Ali. So they were using that as evidence, like he didn't really hit him, he knows how to do these slaps, and that he really didn't do that. There's so many different conspiracies. But again, I know Abby brought up Kim Kardashian, Sierra brought up Will Smith. We're going to talk about them, but in a little bit. So let's continue with the next portion. So again, tying all of this in, I have a theory that, again, our new reality in 2022, humanity really does seem to be like fraught with everything: COVID, war, inequality, everything from racism, sexism, albinism, anti-LGBTQIA+, anti-women, everything. And so since we actually have so little control in our own lives, often, like, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID. We don't know what's going to happen with politics. We don't know, so many different aspects. And anything could switch. We saw that in 2020, right? With the drop of a hat. So we have oftentimes gotten preoccupied with things that are beyond our control, maybe to gain this sense of power. Maybe it's also sometimes like an egotistical judgment towards others, which is my theory of why people watch reality TV. Like, oh, at least my life's not as crazy as they should. I know that's why some people watch the Kardashians. That's not my cup of tea. Like, at least I'm not on their level. But anyway, so celebrities, right? They're always going to be a thing. There's always going to be that 1%, the one that has all the money in the world, while most of us are the poor, right? Just struggling, hustling, trying to work 2 or 3 jobs, or working one job 70, 80, hundreds of hours and not getting paid adequately. However, if we're not really and truly caring about the things in the world that we can handle, like our own trauma, mental health, creating our own goals, continuing to manifest those goals, and then we're literally out of touch internally, and then we're avoiding things by like throwing rocks in a glass house, basically. Like all the people who have been commenting about, for instance, starting out with Kanye and Pete and Kim, like, you're commenting about things, but you also might have done things in your past that, like, can you really judge them? Because you've also been nonsensical, either in your personal life, but you're not a celebrity, right? So no one knows that maybe you have done pornography, and no one has maybe gotten it and leaked it. Or maybe you have also had some kind of like narcissistic moment where you were stalking an ex or something, right? Something like that. Everyone likes to say what they would do, what they would not do, how this is appropriate, how this is not appropriate. But unless you are completely perfect, which none of us are, it's very hard to like accept, like, oh, they're the one that should be speaking on this. And of course, like I mentioned, there's so many other things going on. The war in Ukraine, from issues in Ethiopia to climate change to the abortion and trans rights being just totally, obliterated or trying to be attacked. And then, of course, we have the first Black female Supreme Court justice who's in process of being nominated right now. So hopefully, right, we're going to be talking about her as well. But again, just to outline, we are definitely going to be talking about Kanye, Kim, and Pete, which I'm calling the triangle: trauma and mental health, and then drama. And then I'm going to, a little second, Miss Williams, because it's like beeping on the car, but I'm going to come back when I ask you something. Then we're going to transition again to abortion, trans rights, and I'll show you the connection with, of course, Kanye and Kim. Then Ketanji Brown Jackson's ongoing confirmation. Does anybody know when they have said, I've seen so many different outlets, but when she's officially supposed to be nominated? Do y'all know the date? I've been looking.
They say when the last time I heard when she was doing the confirmation, they say around Easter. That's the timeline they were using.
Yeah. I saw that the head of the Democratic Party, he had mentioned he was wanting to do it by April the 8th, but they're supposed to be voting between like the 4th through the 8th. So maybe we'll know something by then, which is perfect timing with next week, next Friday night. So next Friday night, maybe we'll be having a celebration of sorts. My idea, and I love that we have all ladies tonight, even though men are always involved, anyone of any gender is always available. So I want to hear from y'all at the end of the show. and from you all right now, who are other pioneering women that you're interested in learning more about, speaking more on, putting more out into the universe, just like hopefully Ketanji Brown Jackson will be. We'll be talking about that later and on our next episode. Definitely. Again, it will either be just a celebration of pioneer women or a celebration of her nomination / confirmation official, hopefully. Then we're, of course, going to transition to Will Jada Chris, which is the other triangle of trauma, mental health drama, and then other concerns. All right. I see DJ Eddie King. How are you? Thanks for coming in tonight.
Well,
Thank
we
you.
should have said Will, Jada, Chris, and August. What is it? August Aslam is his name.
Yes.
So it should have been
Lord.
4 people on that line.
I know. I didn't put him because for right now, he is not involved in this because they supposedly handled that tea on the Red Table Talk. But everyone keeps bringing it back up. So we'll talk about that later too. Okay. Oh, I see more people in the chat. Truth is never favored. They're just talking, I think, about fake profiles and stuff. Okay. So again, tonight, of course, I love her beautiful face. The late Maya Angelou. We're going to look at a poem that I know there's all this drama in the world, but I also want to center us on what we can do. Again, what we can control. So we're going to be talking about Human Family, her very famous poem. We're also going to be talking about, have y'all heard of the game 6 Degrees of Separation? Y'all know what that is? You know what it is, Abby? You know what that is, Jackie, the 6 Degrees of Separation game?
I'm not
reference a lot in
very
Hollywood.
familiar with that.
That's the ideal place for the 6 degree of separation to happen because they all run in that one circle.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't though originally. I thought that it was just Hollywood because they always do that Kevin Bacon 6 degrees, but evidently it was actually the scientific study. We're going to talk about that as well and how it evolved into like Hollywood, always trying to take over everything, but it wasn't really initially about them. So, all right, I'm going to pull up this poem by Maya Angelou and let's listen and react. Here we go. Fair use. Oh, I'm going to go back. Let's see. Maybe I can share it in a different way. Video file. I'll do it that way. Nope. Mr. Best in the World, do you know why it wouldn't actually play off of that? I don't know if he can hear me. Or M3, do you know why it wouldn't play off of that? Let me see. It should play when I click her. All right. Well, I'm going to do it in a different way.
Hey, family. Sorry about that.
You're good. I was trying to ask you if you knew why it wouldn't play on the actual like slides. I have her video on there, and when I clicked on it, it's not actually playing the video. It just tries to go to the next slide instead.
Okay. Is there a way to actually
link though if you want to like share it maybe?
Yeah, send me the video link. Yes, and I'll do it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I'm gonna put it in the comments. Thank you.
No problem.
So we're waiting, and she is worthy of being waited on anyway, the great late Maya Angelou. So I think I just shared it with you. Let me know if you got it.
Let's see. Oh, it's in the I see it. Okay.
Oh, I put it in the regular one, but the public needs to hear her anyway. If they haven't heard it, it's amazing.
Do me a favor, put it in the private chat, then I can do it from there.
Okay. You're good. My bad.
It's all good. How y'all doing? Everybody good?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay.
Good, thank you.
No problem.
All right. So I know, Abby, you were talking about the 6 degrees of separation, and you said it was all connected to Hollywood. What do you know about it, Queen?
6 degrees of separation. I'm not really familiar with that.
You're good. You said you had heard of it, Jackie, or no?
I have heard of I have heard about it, but I never really looked into it.
You're good. Okay.
Okay.
So while he's getting that video up, well, there it goes. Okay. So we're going to listen to this poem by Maya Angelou to talk about us as a human family versus just what we're all focused on right now, it seems like, in the world with the celebrities and Hollywood and drama and politics.
Human family. I note the obvious differences in the human family. Some of us are serious. Some thrive on comedy. Some declare their lives are lived as true profundity. And others claim they really live the real reality. The variety of our skin tones can confuse bemused delight. Brown and pink and beige and purple, tan and blue and white. I've sailed upon the 7 seas and stopped in every land. I've seen the wonders of the world, not yet one common man. I know 10,000 women called Jane and Mary Jane. I've not seen any two who really were the same. Mirror twins are different, although their features jibe, and lovers think quite different thoughts while lying side by side. We love and lose in China. We weep on England's moors and laugh and moan in Guinea and thrive on Spanish shores. We seek success in Finland, are born and die in Maine. In minor ways we differ, in major we're the same. I note the obvious differences between each sort and type, but we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike.
Thank you so much, M3. So, what are y'all's initial takeaways? Because when I listen to poetry, everybody has a different takeaway, a different interpretation. What did you take away from that, Queen? I don't know if she heard me. What about you, Abby? Oh, I think you're muted.
My takeaway from the poem that I just heard is that, sometimes we think we look at people, or sometimes we just sit back and observe, and we like, oh, this person might be better than me. I may not want to interact with that person, or I may not, I'm not up to their standard of whatever we consider their standard. So, and then when you get to know that person, actually, you might be having so much in common, and your perception of that person, if you had not initially take that step to have a conversation, you could have lost like a friend, you could have lost somebody that you could have talked to save off of a ledge or something like that. So we have so much more in common than we think, and we're so much more alike. It's just to strike up that conversation to see where that person is at.
So I've heard so many comments in the last week, and I feel like people are very quick to comment, to judge, to have opinions on hot topics. Either they want to be part of the trend, they want to be part of a hashtag, they want to be included themselves. And I feel like with that, oftentimes people get very, very negative, very, very judgmental, and they do forget, even though those people are celebrities, even though those people may be high-end politicians or big in their community, they still are a human, part of our human family. And we do need to think about that and have, if not empathy, because you can't relate to them, sympathy at least. So with everything we're going to talk about tonight, I'm trying to, even if I don't like the person, think very both sides, non-biased, which we can all have opinions, right? But we just need to think about the human family. And so that's why I wanted to start us out with that first, to kind of ground us in that mindset. But you can be as loud or as, dramatic about something as you want. I don't want to censor anyone. I just wanted us to be mindful of that. So paraphrasing Maya Angelou again, she's just discussing, like Abby mentioned beautifully, right, our skin colors. She mentioned beige, brown. She talked about the 7 seas, all the lands, just as a human family, how connected we can be. I love that literally the first thing she said was comedy, because that's what started so much drama since Sunday was a joke. So it's ironic that that poem that I pulled up, I didn't even mean for that to be, but I just thought that was poignant and just fit. But thank you again. I see Princess K, DJ Eddie King again. Thank you, Critically Drinking. Thanks for being in the chat with us, supporting. I love how she even mentioned even twins are different, because even though you might look physically the same, you have a different personality, you have different passions. We are definitely, she reiterated at the end, more alike than unalike. What do you want to add to that, Sierra?
No, it's something that my grandma taught me since I was little, is that before I said something negative about someone, try to look at something positive that they have. And with that, I brought it into the field that I work now. I work with a lot of people, and it's rotative in a way, so I don't have them for too long. The most I will have them is for a month. Sometimes it's small classes, sometimes it's big classes. It could vary, but I have to deal with different type of personalities, different generations, genders, beliefs, etc. Right? So I am very used to variety of people. And something important for us is to always, 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 before if we're gonna give or provide feedback, mention the positive qualities 1st. Always look at the positive things. Hey, you're good at this, but hey, we could work on this. So we always, as humans, we're very judgmental, but we forget that we're very related. And there is something in psychology, I do not recall, I will not be able to, say the term in English, but I know it's like a mirror effect or something like that, that the qualities of the other person that you don't like are the qualities that you don't like from yourself. And what you appreciate from the other person are the qualities that you kind of relate with that person. You're kind of saying, I don't like that about you, but you're actually saying, hey, you're pointing with one finger, but you're pointing with 3, 4 more others to yourself. So that's what I can add on this.
I love that. So how would you say that? I know you said you didn't know how to say it exactly in English, but how would you say that?
No, I do not remember the term. It's just it's a mirror effect. But I'm just saying, I'm just literally translating. I don't know if it does have a term in English.
Okay.
It's just that. Yeah.
No, you're fine. Okay, I see again more in the chat. Yes, be mindful, Princess K says, of your words and learn the art of shutting your mouth and observing. Yes. God gave you 1 mouth and 2 ears for a reason. Listen twice as much as you speak. Exactly. And many forget that. What's up again, Mr. Best in the World? Oh, DJ Eddie. All right. So, Prince, let's see, Queen, what do you feel about the poem that we just heard about human family?
I think it's true. When we can't see color, race, gender, whatever, we all need the same things. We all go through the same things, like you get cut, you bleed, you need food, you need housing, you need money. Like we all need the same things, but sometimes when we put color to things, we can it comes across like, oh, you don't deserve it. I deserve more. And that's when the issue becomes an issue. I think about, the families that I've had to do home visits and do supervised visits, and culturally they were very different. And, as a social worker, they welcomed me in. I mean, I'm still observing and supporting, but, they're no different than my family. I may not understand the language, but the cultures and the traditions that they have are very similar. So I think when we let go of, I'm better than you because of the color of your skin, then we can get past a lot of things. But unfortunately, this world was built on that, this country rather. So that's a long shot to get over,
I feel like, I know you said this country, it was totally the world as well. I know one of my friends, she moved to believe. She came on the show a while back and she was discussing all the, I know we're pausing before we go into drama, but she was talking about the controversy that has occurred recently with William and Kate versus Meghan and Harry visiting the country, and the differentiation, right, of how they're received due to the colonialism of their country taking over their country, right, and that they had not properly acknowledged it on the UK side versus, of course, Meghan, right, obviously there's a reason why she would be more welcomed and things that she pushes and advocates for. And then, of course, so many other issues internationally that are going on that people, I feel like that's part of American elitism and annoys me that everybody's like, oh, the US, and there's so much that happened before us, hundreds of years before us, and we are still horrifically behind, it seems, in many things. But there's other countries also that have done this and worse, and I don't know. It's just, again, we are so much more alike than we are different, but sometimes positive or negative. What do you think, Jackie?
I was thinking about this was 2 weeks ago. Me and one of my students was talking. It's a brother and sister, that I sat down with and talked with, and they start talking about, their clothing, growing up. And as I listened to them, they doing the same thing that I did when I was growing up. My mother always bought our shoes too big, and I'm just sitting there and I'm just listening. I said in my head, the same with me. We had to get our socks big and we had to fold them over and walk in it, and it's not comfortable on your feet. And I said, and I was saying to my same thing. And I told them, I said, you know what? I had thought that was over with. Really, I did. But it's not. That old way is coming back when you have to buy things bigger because you don't have the money to buy clothing and they have to grow to it. So that's one thing that I was thinking about, that we all are similar or have did the same thing. That's the first thing since we were taught, since, everybody was giving their opinion. That's the first thing that came back to me 2 weeks ago when I was talking with a brother and sister where I work at.
I definitely love that. Thank you, Saira, for sharing in the chat what you were mentioning earlier. She said it's called The Law of the Mirror of the famous author Yoshinori Noguchi. And this law, again, refers to what you see in other people is a reflection, really, of what you see in yourself. Sometimes people, right, don't like that reflection. So then they're either more harsh to those people because they're like, oh, this hits too close to home, right? Or, oh, I like that, so I'm going to only gravitate towards them because they're going to agree with me or they're going to back me up even if I'm toxic, which is, again, transitioning to what we're talking about tonight. Okay, so thank you again, Arshawn, for continuing to be with us. Real Talk with Mimsy Limbs. Thank you for being in the chat. All right, so I'm going to continue back with what we were looking at earlier. So again, the 6 degrees of separation part that I was asking y'all about earlier. So initially, the 6 degrees of separation was conducted by this social psychologist. His name was Stanley Milgram in the 1960s. Then he came up with this theory that every single human being is connected by 6 different degrees with every other human being. And so people wanted to actually pinpoint it, right? Though, so scientifically, people did this Harvard study and they went deeper and later did prove pretty much that this is true. They went with a much more of course, this was done originally in the 60s. So they did online, not just sending letters and things, just showing the full connection between all humans. But then some college kids, they took it and made it a game. It didn't say if it was a drinking game, but it's just a fun game that they connected celebrities. I guess they were just watching a movie one night, and so they saw Kevin Bacon in 2 movies in a row, and so they were like, oh, he really is in a lot of movies with a lot of different people. And so now there's literally websites all about how you can connect everybody through Kevin Bacon. So it is definitely something I always think of, and how even if you're not a celebrity, we are ultimately in the original study all connected. And again, if you go back even further through history, and anthropology and everything, we're literally all connected through Africa, which I know is an opinion everybody doesn't have, but scientifically, historically, you can't argue with science and history. So get over it, people. Okay. So also, this is another fun fact. Again, my boyfriend and I always mention him with movies. We actually met at a theater, so we always have a love of films and live theater together. So ironically, again, tied to everything we're talking about, there is a movie. Did y'all know about this? About Will Smith, and it is called The 6 Degrees of Separation. It was from the 90s, and it was about a real story. So this guy, he pretended in real life in the 80s that he was Sidney Poitier's son or family member. He was a con artist. He was manipulating people, trying to get clout, basically. He was an early clout chaser in the 80s. And so Will Smith played him. Ironically, all that is now connected because Sidney Poitier was the first ever Black man to win an Oscar. And now Will Smith is the first, not the first, he's the fifth, but the most recent Black man to win an Oscar. So I just thought that was a very weird connection that I just learned, but it is now all connected in this universe that I was just talking about. I see some more people in the chat. Oh, somebody has a definite opinion. It is okay to have a different opinion. They said women's sphere versus manosphere. They believe that Ketanji Brown Jackson is the devil. Shout out to you as well. Even if we do not have opinions, again, everybody's welcome to their opinion. So that is okay. You can fool pop. Salute to everybody. Thank you for representing the chat. All right. So continuing again with this human connection, human family, keeping that Maya Angelou mindset in the back of our minds, everything we're talking about tonight. We're going to go straight into the Kanye, Pete, Kim controversy connections. I definitely did not put her in the middle for a purpose. I know she's connected to both of them, but I put her third to continue with my theory. So again, what do y'all know? Somebody might know about one more than the other. How did you first hear about Kanye? Anybody? How did you first hear or like him or not like him? Or how did you hear about him coming up, being a star?
I'm gonna jump in here. I think the first time I heard him was when he had that accident when his mouth was wired shut, and he had that song "Out Through the Wire." If I'm saying it correctly, somebody can correct me in the chat. I think that's the song. I heard him on, I think, the radio, and that was my introduction to him. I didn't know if he had anything before that song, but that was the one song that I heard of him. But I've never really listened to his music after.
No, you're good. Okay, what about Sayra? What was the first thing you ever heard about Kanye, or how did you know he was famous? Or
a song. Someone was listening to the song. I mean, so probably I heard it like a few years later, months later. But it's the N in pairs. That's the first song I heard.
What about you, Queen? What's the first thing you ever heard about Kanye or heard from Kanye that made you know he was a star, or how you knew he was who he was?
His music.
You got a favorite song or any era of Kanye? Or
I don't know the name of the album, but it's the one with the teddy bear.
Okay. I think that's the one I like too. I can't ever remember names of albums, just the songs on them.
I just remember the iconic teddy bear in space with the big eyes. That's it.
Yes, that was definitely it. Because I think it was like the song with Katy Perry or something on that album, I think. Because I remember when you said space and then the teddy bear sounded familiar. Okay, what about you, Jackie? What's the first thing you ever remember hearing about Kanye?
I'm going to have to say his music.
And
then later on when he got with Kim and when his mother passed away, that's when I really started, listening to him. I think by his mother passing away, I think that has a lot to do with him too.
We're definitely going to talk about that aspect. So the first thing I remember, I was in middle school jamming to Kanye, for real. Like, I love that Gold Digger song. Middle school and high school, I love that one. It was the Stronger. I love that song. Well, what? Don't kill me can only make me stronger. Y'all gonna embarrass me, but you know the song. I embarrassed myself.
Okay.
I was jamming to
Stronger.
it.
That's the name of the song. Stronger.
Yes, that's it. Okay, there it is. So that's how I remembered him. And then of course later on, when he was with Kim, when he started having mental issues, right? People that had never heard him, were not a fan, had not heard his music, they started, like we just talked about, having these opinions, judging the man, and they didn't know anything about him, how he came up, what his innovations were prior. They were just judging, oh, I saw a blip on social media, or I saw a news, 24-hour cycle about him. And so I had seen another documentary about him before his, trilogy that's on Netflix now. And it was with David Letterman. People, I know older people, I always had to watch him on the late night. He was kind of like, if you're not familiar now, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, James Corden, all these. He was an older white male host. And he now has this show also on Netflix, and it's called My Next Guest Doesn't Need an Introduction. And he's done all kind of different people, like Malala Yousafzai, right, who was shot by the Taliban because they don't want to educate females. Then he did Kim and Kanye, and that's where Kanye was talking about his mental illness at first on that interview. And so I really got a different perspective from him there. And I already liked his music, so I wasn't, hating on him as much as some people anyway. But it just made me have a very much, less biased, because even though I liked him, I still was not triggered at all, but like affected by what social media was saying, right? Without oftentimes thinking yourself, making your own decisions. You're like, oh, I saw this. Oh, what? Maybe they have a point, without fully thinking through it yourself. Okay, so he again started out in the, like, if you've watched that trilogy now on Netflix, he started out as a producer before he was a singer. And he was on the label with Jay-Z. He was producing for Jay-Z. And the lady, she always does amazing on piano. She did the song about the fire that was with the Hunger Games. I love Alicia Keys. I don't know why my brain just died. Alicia Keys. He did so many different people's songs. So he was helping, he was dropping beats before he even started doing his own music fully. So that's where a lot of people don't know how much impact he had on music industry before he even got big himself. And then in that documentary, like you mentioned, Jackie, his mom was so instrumental, right, with him. And after she died, right, from that surgery, I feel that's when it really like triggered more of his like mental illness, maybe, right? Because if you have what we talked about on our inaugural mental health episode, mental health, something can trigger you, right? That you might have it always within you, but something deep made you break, which is again transitioning to Will Smith and what just occurred there. So what do y'all think in terms of like his mental health and controversy with that currently going on right now with Kanye?
I usually don't like to speculate because sometimes you could be wrong, but looking at his situation and your mom passed away, what really gets me, and I'm gonna be honest, where are the people that is around this young man that can tell him this? I understand the mental health part, but the bullying part and all those extra things that go into dealing with his ex-wife and her current boyfriend, like where are the people that are around you that's saying this is not a good look for you if you need to be going into a treatment, a facility to be treated? Like I'm often confused because this is relating to a situation that I'm thinking about a Jamaican singer that is going to be spending 6 years in jail because it's over $5,000, y'all. He stabbed somebody over $5,000, and he probably could have made that back in no time. So I'm just wanting to know, where are the people that are around you? You got a team around you, but nobody is even like talking to you and say, yo, this is not a good look for you. Like, you need to check into a mental facility. We're going to hold it down until you get out, or you can put some family member in place that can do that for you. So that is always something that is in the back of my mind. They always use, oh, his mental health. Yes, we understand that, but there's facilities that you can go to that, somebody can check you in. I'm confused where the people that surround him. That's all I'm trying to find out.
That is a good point. But sometimes, even if you have people around you and they give you advice, sometimes people they don't take the advice until it's too late, or they're just fighting against it. I watched some other documentary about, like, I guess it was Kevin Hart, and it was talking about all his friends, and he had them from both sides of him. Some were telling him good things to do, some were not at all, and of course, he had his own controversies, but. So sometimes, right, it's about like accountability, ownership of yourself, even if you have friends that could and should, right, tell you to get yourself in pocket. He's like, right. I just feel like with all the controversy going on with him right now, people were so up in arms about him. And he didn't physically do anything. He was just obviously stalking, making threats, making all kind of comments. I guess obviously buying a house across the street from his ex, different things like that. Okay, so what about Kim? When is the first time you ever heard of Kim Kardashian? What do you think, Jackie?
It was with was the guy she was with was Whitney's
Ray J.
Ray
Randy,
J.
little
That's
brother.
the first time
Randy. Yeah.
I heard of that in that film that was put out. That's the first time I heard of her.
Film. Okay,
Yeah.
girl. The pornography.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice.
I know, but we need to be honest too. It wasn't a film with Ray J and Kim. It was a pornography. So don't go try to look up Brandy's brother and Kim. It's not a good look. Okay. So yes, that is definitely what supposedly made her famous, infamous, right? Okay. What are some other things y'all heard about her? You saw her. How did you initially come into contact with Kim Kardashian?
By the family.
Well, no, I'm saying, I know you just told us the pornography. What about you, Abby?
Yeah, that was my introduction. I didn't know
was
she existed until then. That was my introduction to her too. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Sierra?
I think probably I used to watch a lot of MTV, and probably when they started going through the keeping up with the Kardashians, not even, probably she was still friends with Paris Hilton, and that's how I knew that they were friends, but I wasn't following too much. I still don't follow them.
Yeah,
too
I
much.
don't either. Okay. What about you, Queen? What's the first introduction you had to Kim Kardashian?
I want to say her tape and then her dad.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. This is what transitioned.
More so her tape.
Yeah, her tape. Yeah, I was gonna say that transitions to what Abby brought up earlier, right? So she said about Kim and about the comment that she made that was completely controversial. It was like it was last month. Now it's just now the 1st of April, but it was in March. She made a comment, and now, right? She is an entrepreneur. She is successful. She has her own businesses and things, but someone, of course, the interviewer just put her in the hot seat, and she made a comment. They were saying basically like, what do you give advice to women about owning their own business, starting a business, being an entrepreneur? And instead of saying something, commonsensical, she went with something that seems to be maybe based on her personality.
Well, she can say something sensical.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It was foolish in my opinion, but I was holding back a moment. The lady that I follow, I don't know if y'all know her. Her name is Jamil. I love her, but she's like an advocate. She's an actress. She was on the show The Good Place, and she always posts just like she's very much for everybody, but she also will call people out. So whenever Kim Kardashian made her comment in the interview, she said, I have the best advice for women in the business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days. Ooh, I was just so taken aback because like what you just said, Queen, how I knew about her was her dad was the lawyer for OJ, like nothing else. it was almost like the Trump's kids, right? It's like you didn't work your way up. You got, recognition, representation from your family, from their money. And so to tell people who are everyday people to get your fucking ass up and work is totally inappropriate. And that's what Jamila told her. She was like, I think if you grew up in Beverly Hills with super successful parents in what was simply a smaller mansion, nobody needs to hear your thoughts on success, work ethic. The same 24 hours in the day shit is a nightmare. 99.9% of the world grew up with a very different 24 hours basically than your ass, right? So I just do not like when people say that. Like, she don't have the American dream, bootstraps pulling up story. Like, no, honey, no. No.
But the saddest thing about it is that when a person opens their mouth and exposes their thoughts,
yep,
you as an individual who still can follow and trace behind this person is sad. She pretty much said, if you're not making it in life, you're lazy. And that is so not true.
No.
If anything, somebody should have told her, get off your back and go get an education.
Or your knees, maybe. We don't know.
But I'm just saying, like, but even with that ignorant comment or mindset, because I think it's a mindset.
Yeah.
She will never be canceled because she got worshipers. And that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, to me, like, what is the fine line? Because there's so many people nowadays getting canceled and stuff. Because to me, like, I know you said worshipers, like, to me, I think what Saida said earlier, I never really liked her. I definitely was not a fan of her reality show. I knew of her, but her whole like persona and everything is not something I'm drawn to. And I don't understand how people can worship a woman who's literally appropriating so many other cultures. She has her own beautiful culture she could be a part of, she could represent. But like, I feel like she always wants to take and culture vulture off of other communities, which again, part of her ex-husband's community is a big one. But whew, what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Mine?
Oh yeah, anyone.
Oh, okay. You know what? Something I cannot avoid looking at the contradictions of people. I love contradictions, and I just point at them because it's how you actually see people are even confused about what they're saying. People, like you said, they're putting her like up high there, thinking that she is a good woman, she was a good wife. But through thick and thin will be supporting your husband through a disability or type of disease that he has in a way, or whatever illness. I think it will be, because bipolar disorder, as far as I know, that's what he has. It's it's very difficult, and people that have overwhelming joy and excitement, huge of energy up and down, reduce hours of sleep, they have insomnia, many different things. It's not one thing. So I would say if my husband was going through that, I would have to be more supportive and trying to find help for that person. That will be a good wife. But people nowadays are judging him for his disorder and saying that he is wrong for something that he can't control. And that's how effed up this world is.
Well, I mean, no, I definitely like respect your opinion. I feel like 1,000,000%. I know we had our most recent show in February was on mental health, and we're all mental health advocates. But I feel like even if people have a mental illness, you also can't use that as like a crutch to say, oh, I can get away with anything. And sometimes I feel like he does do that a little bit. If not that she's perfect, obviously, we just talked about that as well. But like he most certainly could, seek more treatment or possibly be on medicine or whatever as well. And he definitely has has done his share of controversial, inappropriate things. So that's what we're about to transition to now with the Pete Davidson portion of this. So I wanted to cover Kanye and Kim first. Go ahead.
Right. Sorry. And I agree with you totally. I agree with you. But we're talking about masters of manipulation right here. They're experts in manipulating the media. They say what goes on and what goes, off. Hey, they don't like this showing up on air, like people talking about it. Hey, remove it or I'm going to sue you. So they are experts on this. So at this point, you don't know what's true or not. Because if he is trying to see his kids, I don't see why he's not able to see his kids, even if he's not okay here, he could have someone watching, like I don't know how you call it, but it would be a visitor with supervised visitation.
Supervision.
Yeah, so you could have that and you still allow their father to see their kids, but I don't know. I just don't believe everything that they say for some reason. I just feel like they're very manipulative.
Oh, yeah. I definitely agree with you. They are like 1,000,000%, like you said, literally like social media gurus, getting everyone entranced with all of what's going on. I literally just got a notification a moment ago, and it says Kanye West tells Kim Kardashian he is going away to get help after public rants. So now he is acknowledging which we don't know if he's just saying that, right? But at least he is saying he is going to. So with that being said, what had been going on in the past couple of months, right, before their official divorce, they had been separated. And of course, he was seeing other people. She was seeing Pete Davidson. I'm not sure about other people prior to him. I wasn't keeping up with her like that. But what before the Pete Davidson relationship, if anything, did you know about Pete Davidson? What about you, Jackie?
I didn't know about it until you showed me that that video he made.
Oh, that Kanye
video. Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't know anything about him prior. Okay, what about you, Abby? What did you know about Pete Davidson prior?
Saturday Night Live. That's where I knew him from. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I was shocked when I saw him with Kim Kardashian. Yeah.
He literally, I know Jackie and Abby, you know me. If you see on my Facebook, Instagram pages, if you go look up, he looks like my nephew, Justin Wilson. I'm like, oh, he's a baby. Why is she dating this baby? And he is. He's only like 24. She's like, what, 40 something?
But like the comedian said the other day on TV, it's gotta be something when Kim is dating somebody of a different race other than African American. You done messed up.
So we got you didn't know about him, Jackie, just the video. You knew about him from the comedy, Abby. And what about you, Saira?
I didn't know anything about him. I think his face probably was familiar, like I've seen him before, but I didn't know nothing about him. And I think he's not attractive at all. He's funny though. He's very funny.
Yeah. Okay, what about you, Queen?
I don't really know anybody's names, so I probably seen him. No, he looked like the dude from Jack Booty. So that show. So yeah, I don't know much, and I just think she dates people that she can kind of manipulate and control.
That's a very good theory. Yes.
Yeah. But I just want to say with Kanye, and all these stars, like, yeah, people can do stuff to you, but at the end of the day, if you know somebody can't cook and they invite you over for dinner, you do not have to go.
Right.
You don't have to make the excuse and put your stomach through all kind of Tums and diuretics to help yourself out. You do not have to go, and you have to choose. When you look at people's history, you think you're going to be any different. Come on. It's a joke. So at the end of the day, you get what like if I know I'm going to the zoo to pick out my husband, then I know I'm going to get an animal. That's it. That's the only thing at zoos. Orangutans, gorillas, lions, tigers, some ducks. I don't know. But that's what I'm gonna get. So you you got what you picked. I mean, come on.
So I'm gonna shout out some people in the chat still with us. We got Von Eric. He was mentioning that Kanye had a severe head injury when he was in an accident. Also, let's see. Oh, you're saying She Stole My Thunder. Talk about setting up Christmas decorations to enjoy in the background. Daryl said he's enjoying the panel. Thank you, y'all. Apex, thanks for continuing to support. Gabrielle Zometa, hi, how are you? And then we have they're telling M3 to get monetized. I can't help that part. And then let's see. Von Eric also, he put, if you don't know what MGK means, that's Machine Gun Kelly. He's saying that he had first seen, I guess Pete Davidson is maybe who he mentioned in the song, because I know they're friends, Pete Davidson and Machine Gun Kelly. The first time I had seen Pete Davidson, I knew of him like from Saturday Night Live. Me and my boyfriend definitely did not think he was funny. I thought like he looked at my nephew, so I'm not obviously attracted to my nephew. And I then though later, because I love movies, saw that he was in a film with this other comedian we do like, Bill Burr, and it was about his life growing up. And so it was called The King of Staten Island, if you've seen or heard of that. So if you do not know how Pete Davidson got famous, became like a celebrity, got in the world of comedy, his father was a firefighter who was killed during the September 11th terrorist attacks. And so then that's what the whole entire movie was about, which of course that was done after he became a celebrity. And now I think he's going to make like this comedy ferry ship or something in Staten Island with other comedians from SNL and stuff. So, beyond the controversy of Kanye, Pete, and Kim, they did have lives before. They are continuing lives after, even if people do or do not like them. So that's what, again, with the human family mindset, I wanted to keep in mind. But we do have to keep in mind what Abby, what Queen, what Saira, Jackie, and I were all talking about, that what both of them are doing, right? Kim and Kanye. And then Pete, he kind of got into it as well. They are like feeding into drama. So Pete originally, he didn't even have social media. I think she, like Queen said, manipulated him, told him, hey, get on social media so I can at you and all this nonsense, because she likes to keep her men, publicized. And so he didn't even have stuff like that, right? I feel like I usually like people better that are like that don't share their entire life, that are very, they keep who they want close and that's it. But then that's when Kanye started like going at him and then made the whole video. If you have not seen the video, it is foolish, but it is literally Pete Davidson as a puppet. Kanye cuts his head off, carries the body to like some hole that him and his friends have dug. It's like a puppet. He buries him in the ground, right? Puts some water over his head, grows flowers out of him. Basically like a threat, right? Like, I'm going to kill this man if he doesn't stop dating my wife, ex-wife later, right after that video happened. But Pete Davidson up to that point was pretty chill, like handling it, not addressing it. But then he started also posting screenshots and saying, I'm in bed with your wife, and all kind of drama as well, right? Before that, he didn't seem to be like that. So again, what Queen said earlier, right? It seems she is manipulating men, toxic. Not that these men can't make their own decisions, but it does seem to be a pattern on her part. I see again more people in the chat. Thank you, Intellectual Soapbox, shouting out Daryl Long. Again, Apex has been with us the whole night. Thank y'all again, continuing to support. Okay, so again, right now, very recent, before Kanye has now addressed, right, like I just said, like 3 or 4 hours ago, that news dropped that he's going to get help. He has been banned essentially from the Grammys, from Coachella, because not only was he harassing Kim, but when people were addressing it, he was coming for anyone, right, that was against him. One of the people that I've always loved, he's a comedian, but he also does a lot of politics and news, is Trevor Noah. Is everyone familiar with Trevor Noah?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So of course he is of African descent, but he's now in America, hosts his own show, The Daily Show, always comments on everything. And he was just saying, right, like everyone comment on everything, that like it's inappropriate. He's harassing her, even if she does drama and stuff, right? that I guess he had a personal connection. Maybe his mother had been abused, something like that. So he was commenting from that perspective. And so I also related on that matter, just from like having been in a past emotional, verbally abusive relationship, even though I don't like her, right? Could relate from a female perspective or harassment perspective. So he basically came for Trevor Noah he started making these African like song references, being racist and things towards him. And Trevor was like, this is inappropriate. Black men should not come for each other like this, especially racially. And so he's gotten now banned due to these harassing things. Again, Jamila Jamil is commenting, like I mentioned earlier, about Kim Kardashian. So those were their controversies. So now we are transitioning.
I think the first incident with Kanye started with DL Hughley. I think when it first started, and then Steve Harvey jumped in, and that's when I think Trevor Noah got involved, and that's when. But he was coming real hard for DL Hughley. They were going back and forth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love DL Hughley. I used to watch him and Bernie Mac, and he wasn't tolerating any of it. I remember that part. I forgot to put him on there. But what do you? Go ahead.
I do think that I definitely don't believe in any type of abuse. Mm-hmm. But when I look at this individual, I think that behind the scenes, we don't know what is happened. We don't know what's transpired. I know there was a lot of stuff he was saying about he didn't want his daughter on TikTok, and she's doing videos with her daughter. It's like no respect as a father. He's more than a sperm donor. He's a father, and because of his reaction, everyone's judging him based on that versus what's led up to his reaction. There's always a cause for the effect, and the house just don't burn down. There was something that happened to spark the fire, and I think it's unfortunate that, but that's again what I said, like, dude, like, the beast you sleeping with. I don't care how much plastic, how much reconstructive surgery, I don't care how much Botox, detox, whatever, injections, fillers, you knew the beast you were dealing with, and you decided to marry that beast, have 4 kids with that beast, and now you are considered the animal, the angry one who don't deserve to be around their kids. And I think it's unfortunate, but you have to choose who you reproduce with. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I got dynamite in my hand, and I wonder why I'm walking around with no hand. Why you like the dynamite and you holding it?
Exactly.
My hand's about to blow off. So anyway, I just wanted a little spew.
No, it's fine. Thank you for adding that, Abiola. Definitely about the DL, and definitely and Steve Harvey too, and then Queen definitely about both perspectives, right? And that's what we were talking about earlier, and why I wanted to start out with, I guess, with her. Some people had a different intro, right? So now, other than their controversies, other than their relational issues, mental health, both of them, that's another thing I didn't mention earlier. Pete Davidson definitely, I think he has mentioned wanted to commit suicide before having mental health. So on top of men that she can control, I feel like she might also be attracted to men with mental illness or toxicity. I don't know. And of course, I feel like she's a narcissist, and that is a form of mental health as well. So that's just my 2 cents on that part. But
Indeed.
She wants to be seen as the sweet, innocent party. Like, it's like the person who's kicking you and pinching you underneath the table, and then when the other person stands up and slaps you, you're like, what? I didn't do anything. Why are you hitting me? Oh my gosh, but they don't see all the while you're under the table antagonizing me.
Yeah.
And that's what I think of her. I despise this woman.
Exactly.
I think she is the devil itself. And I don't understand why so many men or people flock to her like she is something to worship. She has never had to work a day in her life. All of her brands are handed to her. What are you trying to follow and learn from someone who's been handed everything?
Exactly.
I don't get it. I really don't.
Similarly, I was trying to be very non-biased, but I know Sierra and I both at the beginning were like, she's not my cup of tea. I never really liked her. I definitely never. All my friends are like, oh yeah, I can't stop watching the Kardashians. I was like, nope, not me. Can't stand it. Not just her, her mama, her sisters, none of them. I don't enjoy at all the whole drama. There's more drama with that, right, going on right now. If you did not know, of course, her stepfather, who had transitioned, right, is a transgender individual. Caitlyn Jenner used to be Bruce Jenner, the Olympian. He has a lot going on. I spoke earlier about him, and someone mentioned actually, to me, do not understand person in the transgender community that could celebrate or be on the side of, I guess, Republican politics that does not support them whatsoever, are literally making conservative bills to constantly eradicate them, try to exclude them from society, things like that. So I don't understand being of that mindset, but evidently before they were a transgender individual, they were conservative as a man. So now they're just taking their politics with them. But I'm like, they don't celebrate you or people that are like you. So why would you support? But they just got yesterday notified that Caitlyn Jenner is going to be a Fox News correspondent. I was like, oh Lord, this just whole family. I just can't. I cannot. But Kim Kardashian, since I know we talked initially about Kanye and his innovation initially, and then we just talked about what people did or did not know about Pete Davidson. Then we talked about their mental health. We talked about Kim Kardashian. Most people learned about her negatively, right? But what, if anything, because we are trying to be both sides, thinking of being the human family, what, if anything, do you know about her that has redeeming qualities? Because I do want to emphasize she does have, to me, one redeeming thing about her. But I want to let other people speak on it if they know, because I know just because of the Tennessee connection. But
the one thing I know that she does and she's pretty active and involved in is the justice, the restorative justice work that she does. Yeah, that's yeah, and they do a lot of but a lot of giving of donations to different organizations. But for some reason, I just feel like when they do that, it's always publicized and they always have to have a camera there. But I admire the work that she's done so far in getting, some prisoners released from jail. They had this one lady that was in there on a drug charge that was doing, I think, either life or 25 to life or something like that, and she got her sentence commuted. So I'm proud of her on that end. But yeah, I'm a keep my opinion, the rest of it to myself.
you're fine. Yeah, no, it's fine. I just wanted to acknowledge that. Like, even though most of us definitely do not enjoy her show, enjoy her persona, because I definitely do not, I do appreciate that aspect. And again, because her father had been, like I mentioned earlier, the lawyer for OJ Kardashian, she said that inspired her, wanting to be a lawyer to stop being in Hollywood acting, even though she doesn't seem to be backing away from it much. But she actually helped big time in a case here, a lady in Tennessee, her name was Centoya Brown. She had been child trafficked, and obviously that was a huge story a couple years back, right? But she was one of the main orchestrators trying to get her pardon, because right, she killed, but I believe justifiably so, the pimp that was like abusing her and different things, right? And she was held in prison unjustly for years. So Kim did help with that, among many other people, but she did get involved with that in the justice system.
May I speak to that family if I can?
Definitely, Mr. Best in the World. What's up tonight?
What's going on? Thank you for allowing me to come on and be a part of this. I appreciate it. Jessica, salute to you. So yes, I like Kim Kardashian. Oh yeah, I know that sounds crazy, right?
No,
I like her. Why do I like Kim Kardashian? Because she is who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There ain't no pretend. There's a lot of women out here who are pretending to be something that they are not. You know what I'm saying? She's just straight up with what she is. We all see her for what she is, and she don't try to hide that. You know what I mean? She don't try to make it seem like she's something that she's not. She's trying to make it seem like she's good or bad. She's just her. You know what I mean? Now, that's what I like about her. I don't like everything she does. There's a difference. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I think some of the things she does is very, very hurtful to her kids, to Kanye, to Pete Davidson, to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? But she's not thinking about that. She's a clout chaser. Probably one of the biggest clout chasers in the world. You know what I'm saying? That we've ever seen. But that's who she is. I respect people who tell me who they are up front. You know what I'm saying? And she always did that. Like, she ain't never. I know some of these women, they be out here, they be trying like they politicians or they socialites or they these good women and all that. And they ain't nothing but the whore of Babylon. You know what I'm saying? It's so true. They do this fake nice thing. They do these fake little smiles, and they do this fake. They act like they're submissive, and they act like they're this, that, and the third, and they act like they poly purebred, but they the devils of hell. You know what I'm saying? And I'd rather a devil show me they're a devil, so I can know that they're a devil, so I know how to deal with them. And she showed you that. She showed you what she is. So all these men that keep wanting to hook up with her, they, you know, that they will eat the fruit of who she is. And they have all eaten the fruit of what she is. That's why I always say, watch who you lay with and watch who you stay with. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like she's sitting here trying to act like she's like Michelle Obama, or she's trying to be some respectable woman. She's not doing that at all. You know what I mean? So I think that the men have to be men and have to choose better. And it actually, if any of these men are going to be with her, they need to, you know, call her higher as her man, which is what a man's supposed to do. Well, that's what you should do if you're in a relationship. Period. You should call each other higher, right?
Yep.
But especially the man, because the man should be the person that's leading in the relationship. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these guys, they're just out to just get one thing from her, and then once they get that one thing, they really see who she is. But she never hid that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is the biggest thing, and that's what people really have to see. Kim Kardashian is who she is. You know, you can either like it or don't, and then you can just take it from there. So yeah.
Thank you. No, I definitely appreciate your perspective, and it definitely evolved as you were talking to. So at first I was like, no, but you know, I'm not gonna argue anyway. Okay, so this is a loose transition to some, but I'm definitely going to connect it. So the next piece that we're going to be talking about is Ketanji Brown Jackson. And again, we mentioned earlier, her historic nomination confirmation is ongoing, right? It's pending. She is in the process right now being voted for. People are still obviously doing a bunch of drama, addressing her in ways, right, that have been very controversial as well. But how is the legal aspect of her, also the legal controversies that are going on in the United States right now? I feel like they stemmed in Texas, but now they are literally like, you know, just catching on like a virus in Oklahoma and Tennessee, with abortion, trans, LGBTQIA plus rights bills being passed to try to limit those individuals' rights. So all of that, the legal aspect of her as a Supreme Court justice nominee, the abortion, trans rights bills are connected. And I'm transitioning from Kim Kardashian because, like we just mentioned, right, her legal connection to the injustice system. She does try to do that. But also, how is she connected to abortion rights, or the lack thereof, whatever your opinion is? Remember back in, I guess it was like a year ago, when Kanye was doing interviews and things, and he was trying to run for president, he was sharing her private abortion story and saying that she almost terminated their child, and he was totally against it because of his religious beliefs, right? But I feel like so many people in America, since this is American politics, even though everyone can chime in about their ideas and opinions, that they are forgetting that the country was founded on a separation of church and state. So even though you don't agree with it, you cannot control a female's body, because that is a law still, as many people are trying to change it. So again, connecting all of that with this idea of the human family, the poem earlier that I mentioned by Maya Angelou. Thinking all of that into consideration, what we mentioned earlier about Centoya Brown, Kim Kardashian connection. So now switching gears to Ketanji Brown Jackson. How, in y'all's opinion, have they been addressing her differently than other Supreme Court justice nominees, like the recent one from Trump, right? Amy Barrett Cohen or Kavanaugh. I remember that was like 2018. What have they been asking her? How have they been addressing her? What is supposed to be a professional court system?
I'm gonna jump in here first.
Mm-hmm.
Watched that that whole thing on TV. It was the most disgusting. Like there's no words. First of all, Ted Cruz has got to be the biggest jackass I've ever seen on TV. First of all, he brought out this little kid's book. I've never heard of the book. The book is now the #1 bestseller book in the United States of America because of him. So I'm trying to figure out, did he write the book and probably have somebody using a different name under the book? Like, we're here to talk legality, but I'm hearing stuff about what was one of the things they were talking about the schools? Oh my God, I can't even think of it, that they can't teach in school.
The critical race theory.
Critical race theory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're talking about the highest court in the United States of America, the Supreme Court, and we're sitting here talking about the critical whatever theory. So I'm like, okay, when it was the other young lady that was about to be put on the bench, it was more of legal arguments. But I just felt they handled this woman real disrespectful, and she got a lot of class because knowing me and Jessica, you know me, my face does like things I can't control, and she was so cool, calm, and collective. I really do have to give her like kudos to her, because a lot of these Republicans, they ain't nothing to be played with. They was up in there just pushing everybody they can push to get that angry black woman syndrome out of her. But she was so eloquent, like she was like, telling them like, I'm not here to speak on that matter. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's talk about a legal argument. But then they had like, what is it, Marsha Blackburn? I'm like, girl, what does this lady have to do with this topic at this moment when we're talking about legal issues? So there was no legal issues coming across the table, or there was just actually there were legal arguments coming across the table from the Democratic side, but from the Republican side, they wanted to polarize her in a different light. So it was like, it didn't make any sense to me at all, that they was just trying to antagonize her.
Exactly. Okay, what else would you like to add to that? Either Abby or Jackie or Saida.
I honestly don't know much about the topic.
It's okay. So
Not
earlier
like interview.
you're totally fine. Earlier you mentioned you're from El Salvador. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So totally similar. If you were talking about something about politics in your country, I would have no idea either. So totally understandable. Okay, what about Queen? What is your opinion on this? How they've been handling Ketanji Brown Jackson?
I haven't seen much of it, but I'm not surprised. I think I'm actually surprised it's not worse. She's not supposed to be there. She's not supposed to have the education. She's not supposed to have the poise. She's not supposed to be eloquent. She's not supposed to be educated. She's supposed to be an angry ghetto woman who flips her neck, smacks her lips, and yells and curses. That's who she's supposed to be. That's who they deemed her to be. And we already know that we are not supposed to be in certain positions with certain money in certain areas and driving certain cars in certain down certain avenues. That's already known. So I'm actually surprised that she hasn't gotten it worse. I am very grateful that she has conducted herself the way she has, because she's showing you, I have nothing to prove to you. The proof is in the pudding. Look at my track record. Look at what I know. Look at what I did. And look at what I can do. That's it. And I think, the whole Will Smith thing and all that other stuff, it's distracting us away from things like this, because
Exactly.
these are the women that our young Black girls should be aspiring to be or follow versus, you know, Kardashians and Meg the Stallions and Cardi B's. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not surprised, and I want to say, go on, Black woman, go on. That's it.
Exactly. That's what I mentioned at the very beginning when we were connecting a long time ago with all the Matrix topics. I was saying that with all of the drama with Kim and Pete and Kanye, and then we have, of course, the Will, the Jada, the Chris Rock, that people are so worried about those things because they have so little actual control, so little seemingly care for things that they could actually change with like voting for certain things, acknowledging people like you just mentioned who are much better role models, and handling things that we could fix in our community or that we could address and highlight. And then, of course, continuing to judge people in that glass house idea, right? You're throwing rocks in a house that also could get damaged for yourself. So the people like what Abiola just mentioned, what Queen just mentioned, who have been critiquing this woman are so atrocious. I know you mentioned Ted Cruz already. Ugh, one of the most atrocious people to me from Texas. He is just always a contrarian. He always wants to go against whatever. And he is a man of color. That's why it's so annoying. He is a Hispanic gentleman. He should, really care fundamentally about people like him, people that might not have opportunities like him, but he's just not on board with that. And he actually made some ignorant comment to her, what you all mentioned, right? About like, it's nothing to do with legal. He was like, what if I came to a job and I said, I'm a Hispanic man. Can I be an Asian man? He was just being like rude to her, disrespectful. Like, what if someone came to him, in his interview to get his position and said, you should be a white man or whatever, right? But he's just completely disrespecting her in that sense, which was so foolish. But again, not shocking at all. Ted Cruz with all of his drama. Another individual who always is in the midst of everything is Mitch McConnell, right? He literally walked out, caused the whole drama, said that she was like a national security risk, just foolishness. Marsha Blackburn, I know you mentioned earlier, Abiola. She's from our state, unfortunately, Tennessee. She's always on the nonsense. There's literally scandal from our Board of Education here in Nashville. A lady was on the hot mic, I think it was yesterday, and she actually said, could someone set Marsha Blackburn on fire? So she is not liked. She is always saying nonsense, always just trying to stir up drama, whether it's about this woman, whether it's about critical race theory, whether it's about abortion. She's just made so many ignorant comments. And then she says so much incorrectly as well. And I don't understand, like Abby said earlier, how can someone like that be elected, represent an entire state? I do not understand, because she definitely doesn't represent me. She definitely doesn't represent Abby. I know Jackie doesn't, flow with her. And obviously not the lady at the Board of Education. Some other nonsense she said the other day that everyone was like, wow, what in the world are you talking about? She actually, I'm trying to scroll to it, accidentally started playing something. So while I'm looking for that, other people that I was so excited about, though, that spoke up for her, was Cory Booker, right? His speech to her was so empowering, so amazing. He was like, you remind me of my aunt. You remind me of my mom. You are so qualified. She's literally more qualified than every Supreme Court justice currently sitting. She's so scholarly, and it's just ridiculous that there's even this just such utter disrespect. The other comment that Senator Marsha Blackburn had mentioned the other day, she said the Constitution grants us rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not abortions. Like, girl, no. But then somebody in the comments was like, this is the Declaration of Independence, not the Constitution. So it's like, you're going to be offensive and inaccurate all together in one. The Cory Booker and also her friend. Did you see her friend speaking about, I know these were like 11, 13-hour things, right? So we just get blips of them sometimes on social media, but her confirmation hearing, one of her friends, she spoke on her, and she was her college friend. She had gone to law school with her, and she just said, we all knew that she was going to get here, even though other people, right, disrespect Black women, even though we don't get as many opportunities. We all knew that she was going to go for this, that she was the woman for the job. To me, honestly, with her, they are questioning her so hard because they know how much of a difference she's going to make. And because of her, she's very wise. And also they were saying that even though some of them are super liberal or whatever, right, that she is very like level-headed. She'll make decisions of people all over, not just what she believes in. And that's important as well, to be a Supreme Court justice, right, to rule on cases that you might not necessarily agree with. But it feels like with the Supreme Court, it feels like with, particularly in the South, like I mentioned earlier with Texas and Tennessee, that they're literally trying to take history back, women-wise, transgender-wise, laws, back to like some Handmaid's Tale, dystopian, everything. It's just ridiculous. So what are y'all's opinions? Even if you're not quite sure about the politics with Ketanji Brown Jackson, what are your specific opinions in terms of abortion rights and things of that nature, or transgender rights in America?
Listen, everybody has got to live their life the way they seem fit. Mm-hmm. If you need to have an abortion, by all means, do what you need to do. Because what if this, I'm trying to figure out with the laws they're about to pass, what if this child was raped, if they were molested, like where does, like all these laws that they're passing, like at what point do you stop? Are you taking into consideration, like these are old white men, right, making decisions on young people's lives? Like, where does it stop? Like, you got like Chuck Grassley been sitting in Congress or the Senate for however long. Like, do they retire or do they fall on the job and croak? So, like, and then it take one state, then it pick up in another state, and then it pick up in another state, and then it pick up. By the time we're finished, what they're gonna do? Leave the country to go get an abortion? But guess what? They don't understand it. It affects poor people the most, because at the end of the day, they don't have money to go do these procedures. So guess what they're gonna do? They're probably gonna do it in their house. They're probably gonna got somebody doing it for them, and they're gonna end up being, they're gonna die. They're probably gonna die. So these are things, they're not weighing people options. It's a woman's body. She should be able to choose whatever she want to do. Don't tell me what to do with my body. If I want to change it, and I wake up tomorrow and I say I want to be a man, or whoever want to be a woman, or if they want to get rid of a child, like, you don't know the reason why they want to get rid of this child. You know, what if that child is sitting up in a woman's fallopian tube and it might kill her? That's a possibility. So all these things got to be taken into consideration, but I just don't feel that men should be sitting at a table making decision on women issue. That's just what I got an issue with.
And I know, not to be contrarian or anything, but literally the only person that is not a white male right now making these decisions, right, is possibly Clarence Thomas. But we all know his controversy as well, because his wife is supporting different things, right? And then, of course, Sotomayor, but she is very much so. She'll look at both things from an angled perspective, but she's definitely liberally mindseted, has a liberal mindset. What about, they also have been addressing other things about, other than the CRT, other than abortion. Of course, they just asked her foolish questions like, what is a woman, defining, trying to be foolish, right, with the transgender rights issues, and just seeing how she would react. Like you said, I love how she just like, I don't want to speak about that, or I'm not going to address that, or it's not to do with this. But they also tried to talk about these other controversial issues about her cases that she had ruled on, calling them horrible crimes, like exaggerating them. But some of them were about child pornography cases. And this one person that I know, they were very upset, saying that they didn't like how she ruled on that. But if people don't know, just like a president, one person doesn't have all the control on the Supreme Court, anything. As a judge, right? My uncle used to be a judge. You just don't make all the decisions yourself. And so she was saying that there are some things already portion, by the Supreme Court, by Congress, that she can't control, such as some of those rulings with the child pornography or the child rape cases. And she was very upset, right? Crying about this because she has a child. She is a mother. And so obviously she wouldn't have wanted to let a child pornographer into the world or anything like that. But she also can't control everything. And they were attacking her for something she cannot control.
Let me speak to that, family. I'll say this. I think that was messed up in Western culture is the fact that the reason why abortion is such a big thing is because we no longer have community. When we had community, like other cultures and other places they have community. So I remember I was talking to one man, and it was so he when we were telling him how people date in America, he was like just so like taken aback because he was like, we wouldn't even never allow any of this stuff to happen. He said that his sister was trying. There was a guy who wanted to marry his sister, and I think because his father was either ill or he had passed away, that the men in the family had to vet that man in order for them to even marry the sister, because the men were protective of that woman. But we don't have that in America. The men are not protective. You know what I'm saying? And they're just going around here doing all types of stuff. So when things happen like this, we don't have community. You know what I mean? And the women can't respect men in America because men in America don't. A lot of times, not all of us, but a lot of us, we don't want to take up the mantle and lead. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to make sure that the women are safe and that they're not being taken advantage of. They're not being assaulted. They're not being raped. We ain't doing none of this stuff. So now these things happen because we no longer have community. You know what I mean? We're no longer looking after each other. Especially the man's no longer looking after the woman. It's not happening anymore. And the woman also is not looking after the man either. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be a partnership. When you bring a child to this world, it's supposed to be a partnership where you and the person that you are, being intimate with, y'all are supposed to have discussions about what y'all want to do with that life. You know what I'm saying? But because we live in a society and there's no structure, of course there's all these things going on. It's just a mark of society. You know what I'm saying? I really wish that, it would be more of where we could work together, you know what I'm saying? And it not be so much separatism. Everything is just so separate. It's so chaotic. You know what I mean? We can't even have a functional system where we could bring kids into this world, you know what I'm saying, in a way where it's safe for them. We can't even do that anymore. It's sad. You know what I mean? So I think that at the end of the day, I think that we could, because nobody wants to, no woman wants to really take the life of her child. She doesn't want to do that. She doesn't. No man wants to do that, right? But when situations happen, because I feel like we live in a damn near immoral society. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? This is why we run up into these situations. You know what I mean? But if we have more of a standard and more morality and more of where we work as a community, all these things will not be happening. You know what I'm saying? Where men will actually, at least try to marry the women that's around them. You know what I'm saying? They ain't even trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not bashing my brothers. I'm just saying, I feel like it starts with us. You know what I'm saying? Now, at times things can get a little crazy because some women don't, especially in America, they don't want to be traditional. They some women are unruly. It's fine. You know what I mean? It's a matter of life. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? As long as we try to do that, you know what I mean? That's all that matters. So yeah, that's all I'm trying to say.
No, you're fine. I appreciate your perspective. I want to add to the bottom, and I want to ask you another question on top of what you just said. So you just mentioned like women being unruly if they didn't want to be traditional. And I also wanted to clarify on the part about, like, I know you're talking about from a female, male perspective, community, family. But since we are talking about also trans, LGBTQIA plus, or someone maybe they were non-traditional, they don't want to be with anybody, right? They're maybe asexual or something. And if they are raped or if they didn't want to be in a relationship, right, and so they wanted to have an abortion, I wanted to think of it like from literally all angles of women, not just the ones who are in a traditional, quote unquote like male female relationship. Because like my best friend is a lesbian. Obviously, I have transgender individual friends. I was trying to look up on my phone. I literally taught a poem this week to my students, and it was by Rita Dove. She was the first Black female, and she was the youngest poet laureate in the United States. She was nominated by Bill Clinton, and then she got an award from Obama as well. She's just amazing. She wrote a poem. I'll pull it up on my library app since it won't pull up on my other thing I was looking on. It's called Woman Aflame. And I'm going to pull it up real quick. So she, in this poem, it's just a hypothetical woman. It doesn't tell race. It doesn't tell gender, of course. It doesn't tell sexual orientation. It says, she was a mother. She was a girl who dreamed of becoming a mother someday. She was either a tease or a tramp, a lover or a wife. Still, she had to do the counting, was accused of lacking spontaneity, being a cold-hearted bitch. But if the days didn't add up, she would end up straddling a cold table in a dingy back room or waving goodbye future. She was jogging on the late shift, unlocking her car. And though she still remembered the tart smack of his sweat when he held her down, horseradish on his tongue, none of this was she permitted to say. While lawyers argued her right to privacy, citing statute and precedent until the court declared enough, and she and her body were free to go. So at the beginning, it said that she did have a dream of being a mother. But then when something is taken out of your power, out of your control, out of your autonomy as a woman, what happened to her in the poem? She got raped in a park running at night or whenever she was jogging. It didn't say, right? But like, I don't feel, I know you're talking about the community, but like thinking from like a mental health perspective, if I was a female, even if I wanted to have a kid eventually, right? Which I don't, but even if I wanted to, and it wasn't with who I wanted, right? It was a rape situation or maybe a familial situation, right? If there was some kind of incestuous thing that had happened. What is your opinion on that? Because as a woman, even if there was a community willing to say, if you had the baby, I'll be there for you, I'll hold you down, I still wouldn't want it because I wouldn't be able to function thinking that that was a rape, that was something I never intended, you know. But what is your opinion on that?
Well, the reason why I say it should be more of a community because in other communities, if you defile a woman, if you rape a woman, that's a penalty of death a lot of times.
Okay.
Like you could lose your life if you defile that person. If you defile that person's, that family's, female or woman. Even if you disrespect the man in certain cultures in a certain way, that could lead to death. You know what I'm saying? So I think, especially for women. So I think that because we can't even. I think the problem is too we don't have enough communication. You know what I'm saying? So if we can't even take mental health seriously just on a basic level for just both men and women. So now when it becomes now we're talking about people who have different genders or they choose to live a different path. If we can't even have the basic conversation and recognize things that are just on just on a regular male or female level, then when it gets to that, of course it's gonna be hard because we can't even do the basics. We can't even talk about the basic stuff. So I think if there was more communication, it could be more support. We don't have enough communication. So with no communication, there's no support. You know what I mean? Because we're not even supporting each other on a base level. We can't even have them on the base level. We can't even really do that within our own family structure, some of us. So now when it spills out to us trying to build healthy relationships outside of that, it's even more chaotic because we were never doing it in the first place or we were never taught how to do it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a really big issue. And I think more women would feel more secure in having kids if they knew that they had people there that was really supporting them from the beginning, right? Because a lot of times they may not know, you know what I mean, or that situation may not be something that's actually even brought up, or a lot of times, what I see also is that the men in the family are not checking on the women. You know what I'm saying? Okay, hey, you want to go to the gym at that time? Well, sister, I don't think that's a good time to go because that's a bad neighborhood. And you know what? Why don't when you get out, I'll come meet you. You know what I'm saying? The men don't do that no more. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They just don't. And I'm not saying all men, but a lot of men just don't do it no more. So because it's not done anymore, the women don't expect it. You know what I mean? So now women got to carry mace and butcher knives and all these other things. That's like, why she got damn near have a military on her in order just to go to the gym. It makes no sense, but that's just where it's at, unfortunately. Um, but I think we just need to have more conversations about everything when it comes to relationships, right? Whether it's men and women, whether it's other communities, whether it's whatever, we need to have those conversations, but it starts at the base level. And I think because we can't even have that within our family structure a lot of times, it's harder to have it as a community. So yeah.
No, I like that. And that's literally just a perfect example what you were talking about communication. Because I could have just assumed what you meant, but I was like, no, I want to ask him and get a little deeper. So I like that you explained about the community of like different cultures and how they handle men, of course, if they defile women versus just what I assumed is what you were saying, like the women should have the baby because in the community will, like the Hillary Clinton takes a village to raise children type thing. That's what I thought you were meaning. But
yeah, and I just want to reiterate what he was saying. It takes a village and a community because what's the young lady name to the bottom? I want to make sure I'm saying
Saira.
Saira. Yeah. And I know she's from a different country as well, and I am. So for us, we're used to having huge families living probably in multiple layers houses. So there was always somebody there. So coming to America, that was a shock for me when I came here that everybody was just to themselves. So we still maintain that tradition here because, actually my mom is in my den right now because whenever she feels like it, she come over to my house. Whenever she feels like it, she go, she have her own home. She go to my sister's house. That's how we work. Like one of my child is being homeschooled. So in the morning, we just drop the child off to my mom's house. So community for us and family is really, really important. I don't know. And that's what I'm trying to understand sometimes. Where did the breakdown happen in the United States? That family is not what it should look like, but it's happening outside the United States of America.
So thank you for both of y'all's perspectives. Does anyone else want to speak on that? Either Queen or Saira?
Well, I just wanted to say that, yeah, definitely, being from a different culture, I can see the differences in many different things. I would say El Salvador, it's a country that has a very bad reputation because of gang members, I would say. But in reality, our traditions here are very like any other Latin American country. We are very united within our family. We're very family oriented, I would say. We try to keep those traditions. Like I still visit my grandparents, every weekend, or at least twice a month. I will go to their houses. We still get together with my family, and those are things that make a difference in a way. We're not the type of family that's going to be kicking their kids at the age of 18 just because you're 18. My responsibility is over. We're not like that. Actually, parents they're very, very proud to have their kids pay for their university, their career, see them graduate, and they let them go until they are standing on the ground. And then that's why it happens vice versa, that we don't have as many how do you call the assisting livings, because
the assisted living facilities
because you as children will take care of your parents. If you don't take them to die alone, that goes against our beliefs. Like, no, my mom is gonna live with me, I'm gonna be cleaning, wiping her body if needed. But we don't, we're totally, it's just people that might be very Americanized might have the mentality. But here you will even hire a nurse or someone to take care over the elderly person, as if it was a nanny for a kid. Simple as that, you would do that. So very, very different aspects that kind of are shocking. Abortion is not legal here. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of females that are fighting for it. I have a different opinions about it. I understand because I am a woman. I understand, and I'm not close-minded about how they feel, and I try to be empathetic. But the way I see it is like if you are responsible, if you are taking care of yourself, and if you know that this method exists to prevent that, why would you not use it and wait until you get until that stage where it cannot be you shouldn't. I mean, this is a prevention method that you could use, but you're just irresponsibly doing it. So, I have now when it comes to violation like raping and things like that, I know that it will be very difficult to make someone go through that and to say, oh, you have to keep it just because you have to keep it, and you don't know what damage has caused. Probably, you wouldn't even do any good to that children. So I understand. I'm looking at from the outside and looking at the bigger picture. I try to be very empathetic about it. But yeah, definitely, I just wanted to say that as a culture, I would say that sometimes being very open-minded, it could be also dangerous.
So, like you're saying in your culture, if you say too much, or is that what you're saying by being open-minded, it could be dangerous, or what do you mean?
No, like in the US, a lot of people go by like I am
Mm-hmm.
being open-minded, and they're like teaching kids some stuff that, it's not even their age to learn yet, or the way that they should learn. They just trying to put this in their head like if it is normal, and it's not. That's the reality that it's not.
Um, okay. So, I know we were talking, I love to hear all the different cultural backgrounds, and I definitely I'm not taking care of my mother right now. I don't live in the same state, but my dad is definitely taking care of my mom because she had brain surgery last September, and she still has issues with that going on. So definitely, but I have definitely seen within other members of my family, right? Not taking care of family members, not respecting people who had raised them, who had taught them how to read, who had done literally everything for them, just totally disrespect them as a human being. But I love hearing both of y'all's perspectives on that. So with what I mentioned earlier, though, I do feel that a lot of people are trying to push back on Ketanji Brown Jackson, both from a racial perspective, but they can't say that. So they're trying to push other things, like about the critical race theory about abortion. So that's why I brought these pieces up about the Texas heartbeat bills that are basically pioneering all of these bills in Oklahoma, Tennessee. And then there's articles that I linked up if anyone's interested later, talking about how they could actually hurt women, usually in poor communities or women of color, by forcing them into generational poverty if you are actually forcing them to not do this. And so, of course, the Supreme Court is not blocking this Texas bill that is inspiring other states to push that. And also is transitioning into these transgender bills, or possibly even trying to take back gay marriage. I've seen that in a lot of other state legislation that's trying to be pushed right now. Okay, so that is taking us to finally the elephant in the room. So, I know, like I mentioned, everybody has said almost everything in the world that you could say about this, but there has been more development still, which is why I sort of wanted to sit back and wait and listen to what everyone said, everybody's side, right, to make a full on logical assessment myself and hear from everyone's opinions, because things have literally changed within a day, within an hour, right? Everyone's opinions, or they'll say something, they'll be like, oops, I shouldn't have said that because now somebody's mad at me or canceled me or whatever. So, of course, we saw for ourselves. Everyone could see the video now, both the slap, both the reaction from Jada's face, both Chris Rock not, running or doing anything back, retaliating. What started the slap, right, from Chris Rock's joke, how it affected Jada. And then, of course, everyone has their opinions prior and after. So, I think Abiola mentioned earlier that should say Will Smith, Jada, and Chris Rock, and August Alcide. I didn't put him on there because, of course, they supposedly had this open relationship, right? So that's supposed to have been squashed on their Red Table Talk. So, of course, that is not what I made the focus. But people did, of course, basically critique Will Smith for that, saying, where was this energy, right? When August Alcide had, I, of course, don't know their bedroom situation, but they were saying, had your wife, right, had his items in her mouth and instead of just words out of Chris Rock's mouth with your wife's name. So I'm going to just open the floor first for your actual opinion of what happened, because this is, everybody's had an opinion, right? I have an opinion, but I want to hear from y'all, and then I'll tell you.
I can go first.
Okay, go ahead, Sayeda.
You know what? I think everybody was wrong, even
Right.
including the people that was judging them so bad, and everybody's wrong because you're supporting based on something, and that's my biggest problem right there. People that were judging him for doing what he did because he was doing it for Jada, thinking that she did not deserve to be protected by him, they're wrong. They're wrong because they are saying that because they don't like her. So let's remove Jada from the equation and put your wife in the picture and yourself. Like if you're, hey, let's say that it was someone that because it's not Jada. So then the action will be more acceptable. Let's remove Jada and put Willow and say that, she also doesn't have hair, but we don't know if she's doing it empathetically because of her mom or what's the reason why they're doing it. But what if the joke was about his daughter? Then action will be more acceptable because it's not Jada. But there was a lot of people just judging because they have something against her, and it's kind of, the way I see it is like he forgave her. They were still together, they still married, and they're still gonna be married probably. If their marriage is toxic or not, that she's manipulative, that she's doing this, like they were trying to make up the entire movie around it without even knowing how things are in reality. At the end of the day, she was the victim because they're like, oh, he was violent, but bullying is also another form of violence. And just because America is trying to make it seem like, you know what, it's just a joke, but then you're complaining about kids in school being bullied. So it's contradicting because you think it's just a joke, but in reality, you're trying to make it up. So I'm not saying that Will Smith did right because that was totally out of place. I think if I was Jada, I would have like grabbed his hand and just stop him, or I would say like I would have said something. But I also think that the Academy should be more thoughtful about, because this is scripted regardless. Everything is it's scripted behind it, like people that make the jokes. Maybe that was Chris Rock's joke, I'm not quite sure, or someone wrote it for him and he's just reading the prompter. But everything is scripted, so they could have think about what they are delivering, but again, they want some type of entertainment.
Jada Pinkett Smith shares a message about healing. The actress.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I thought it was me. So that's what I think, that everybody has their own responsibility, even the Academy Awards.
Okay, definitely love hearing your opinion. Does anyone else want to share their opinion on the matter?
The only thing I want to say, I didn't even know she had alopecia, to be honest. So I'm trying to figure out, did Chris Rock even knew she had alopecia? Because I know Jada for cutting her hair, because almost ever so often you will see her like with a pixie cut, or her hair will be really short or something like that. So I literally thought it was a new style for her. And she was stepping out like, because she got this nice little round head, she can pull it off with her face. So that was really what I thought. So, and when that happened at the Oscars, I was thinking that it was really a joke, and I think everybody thought it was a part of the act as well, because not until he got back to his seat and started cursing, that's when people realized it wasn't a part of the joke. But I'm just trying to figure out, it could have been handled a different way. in the sense like he could have waited and do it backstage, but he was in the heat of the moment. So whatever consequences he has to face, that's on him, because you're a grown man. You put your hands on somebody else, and that night he could have been arrested. But Chris Rock chose not for him to be arrested. So it would have been he would have been locked up and probably, whatever the case may be. But you gotta, I can see both sides, but you gotta ask yourself, because he might not be invested in watching the Red Table Talk or whatever her show is. Because I don't really watch the show, so I did not honestly know she had alopecia. I swore it was like a new style because she can pull it off, So it just was flabbergasting to me to just see him walk up on that stage and just slap that man. You got to remember, that man got a family, he got kids. That's something that's gonna be on YouTube, on be a meme, because right now kids walking around saying that, don't make me Will Smith you. So it's like a lot of things that's gonna lead into it, but I just felt that was not the place and the time. Like literally not. He was laughing when Chris Rock made the joke the first time, but when he looked over at Jada's face, he realized Jada was not laughing. But now they got a different view of the scenario. They were laughing at he and the whole time afterwards. You just slap a grown man on stage. But let me tell you something. Well, Chris Rock handled it real good. He handled it real good.
Controlling emotions is not easy. Like emotional intelligence requires a lot, and he knew what he was doing at that moment, and he took it like, okay, I crossed that line.
Exactly. Queen, do you want to time? Go ahead. I want to hear your perspective too.
Well, I know someone who was at the Oscars. A coworker of mine was nominated for something in a film. Anyway, but she said it was very real. It didn't look staged. She said it was very uncomfortable, and that everyone was shocked. So my opinion is that there's a better way to. A lot of people, she said that she was with, or the group that she was with, were saying that they felt like it was a step backwards because they felt like it was a very Black Oscar. I understand what that meant, but I think maybe the nominations, people who won, and she felt like it was kind of like a slap in the face and a step. It was distracting from what that night was about. I do believe that, I always say this, we are candles. We all have a wick. Some are deep, some are short. You do not know how long your wick is until the fire hits it. And I think he snapped, crackled, and popped. And I don't think it had anything to do with Chris Rock.
Nope.
I think it had to do with his wife, the toxicity, the manipulation, and the whole emasculation and embarrassment he has endured in that marriage. It had nothing to do with Chris. Chris was the straw on the camel's back that broke it, pretty much. And he was a casualty of war. And just hearing and seeing, and it's so much deeper than that. It just makes you look at someone and go, yeah. Again, if you choose toxic women, what do you think is your results are going to be? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, figure it out, like, pay attention. Like, you have better judgment, like, come on. Anyway, yeah. So now that she got you out here looking like a buffoon, for no reason. No reason at all. Like, you are totally out of character. You know what I mean? Like, and then you know, you got people dragging you. Now you are forever a meme. For what? For what?
And Queen,
And
not
you
to think about, I'm not cutting you, but I'm
go ahead,
cutting you.
no.
But think about this. Who wants to work with somebody that's volatile? Because you don't know when he might pop off. So that's the new thing that's going on in Hollywood now. Like, do I really want this man on my set? Because if you're gonna walk up on stage and slap somebody, what are you gonna do on set?
And that's the thing, is that, you know, you have someone who has done nothing but air your laundry and dragged you, and now you are pitted to defend someone, because, you know, like, you know, I just think, you know, to me, I don't find comedians funny when they have to attack someone. That's not comedy. That's easy. That's what bullies do. Comedians are funny when they can tell a joke and it's funny. It has nothing to do with anybody. You know what I mean? Like, that's not comedy. That's easy work. That's free, you know? But anyway, that's just, yeah. So I just feel like that was just a
You know,
psycho moment for no reason, you know? And then you want to get up there. I didn't even watch his acceptance speech. Then when you get up there and start crying, and now you have to make excuses for your actions previously. That's why it's always says, be slow to speak and quick to listen. Like, everything does not equate a response. Like, you can't always respond in the moment. But like I said, I think he was at his breaking point and he just snapped. And he walked up there like he ready to do a two-step with him. Next thing you know, he's slapping him. He barely, you know, it looked like he ain't hit him that hard, but, you know, he stunned him, and then he walked off, and, you know, then he said what he said. Just, he could have sat at his seat and said what he said, you know? So,
but
yeah.
Queen, I don't mean to cut you off, but
Go
you know,
ahead.
my problem with this is, and I totally agree with you when you said, like, you know, it was his breaking point, and this was beyond the joke. Like, this is something that he's keeping, emotions that he's keeping inside, and this is the moment. Okay, you know, this is enough. I've handled enough. So I think that that's accurate. However, I'm against is the fact that people is trying to put the blame on a woman. Again, I am removing the name Jada. I'm just looking at a woman, any woman. Put that whatever face you want there. So why do you want to make a woman responsible for a grown man's actions? That's his actions. It doesn't matter how much toxicity she brings into his life. He picked her. He married her. He's still with her. He has said, "Oh, I'm not going through another divorce." It doesn't matter how, you know, crazy this relationship is. He is aware that it's crazy. That is probably very, they're not even happy in their marriage, and he's stubborn to stay there, you know. And the woman is showing you that she don't love you because people say, I don't know, you know, I don't know. So they probably, she's letting him know, and he's still there. That's kind of like not even showing how much you love the person. It's how much you don't love yourself, because he's not loving himself to be able to walk out of that toxicity, and then, you know, just look for help, find help, and then be, you know, healthy emotionally, mentally, you know. But trying to blame her for his actions, it's also a problem.
Well,
It's
I
a
do
problem.
blame her because she's his wife. And as his wife, I would never allow my husband or watch him get up and go on stage at a night like this. I would have grabbed his leg and say, "No, no, no. No, no, no."
Yep,
Like,
definitely, I agree.
so
Yeah.
I do blame her. I
That's
do,
what I think
partially.
Saida. No, you're fine. I was gonna say I think that's what Saida said earlier too. You were like, I would have grabbed his arm and not let him. You said you would have grabbed his leg, Queen. We would have had his whole
I mean, I
body
wouldn't have did it. I
restrained.
wouldn't have did it so everyone could see, to make a
Right.
spectacle. But I would have looked at him and said, you know, even when I shook my head and I looked crazy, I'd have looked at him and did a no, no, don't, you know, don't even worry about that, because this is the history. Chris Rock has been dragging Jada for years, talking crazy about her too. So this is not just a one-time joke. He has attacked her in a lot of ways. And like I said before, yes, it is partially his fault too. But as we all know this, when you get emotionally manipulated, why do you think there are girls who let pimps drag them in the street? It's because emotionally they have broke them down. It can happen to men too. And that's what we don't want to face, is that I personally feel like she used him, she manipulated him, and yes, he did choose her, whatever else, but she's still chilling. She doing her thing, and he's the one out here acting a fool because he feel like he got to stand up and protect his wife and do all this and beat on my chest. So he's the one getting up on a stage, where there's a joke being said, and and now he's going to reap the repercussions of this with his career, not hers. And if we are a partnership, that's our career. That's messing up our household. That's messing up our family. And the Will and Jada is too much. Will and Jada. It's the Smiths. That's who they are. But that's not how we see them even. We see them as Will and Jada. So we separate them.
So I wanted to hear from all of y'all first, and we've already heard from the whole rest of the world. I want to tell you some things that I have learned. Like I said, I listened to everybody. I looked at all the perspectives. I was like, what's this person say? And I wanted to look at, Black women from their perspective because of her hair condition. I wanted to look at Black men's perspective because of what occurred with Chris Rock and Will Smith. Then I wanted to look at other people that are perhaps gazing on it a little too long, that don't really have... right. Not necessarily they can't have an opinion, but it's very disconcerting because they've had other things that they have done. And it's just crazy that they're trying to judge other people. So like we talked about early on in the show about the human family, right? We're all more alike than we're different. And we forget that sometimes when we're judging other people. So I want to share a couple of different things that I found. So one
family, may I get my perspective real quick?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miss Wrestling World. And I'm pulling this up while you're talking. Go ahead.
Okay. And I love everything everybody shared about this topic. I think that what Will did was, man, it was egregious, and I cannot look at it any other way. But that's my perspective. I also think that, in a relationship, you have to look after each other. So it's a bond, right? So I feel like she didn't look after him for so long with everything she was doing with the entanglements and everything else. And so for him trying to look after her made no sense. You know what I mean? But that was his choice. He chose to do what he wanted. Every human being has to make their own choice. With that being said, what he did was disgraceful because for years we've been seeing comedians who, when they ask the comedians to host these award shows, people know who are in the industry what to expect. They know, when the comedians come and they do the ceremonies for these awards, that they're going to say some outlandish stuff. Okay, that's why they're on there. And this is going all the way back to the award shows in the 60s and 50s and beyond, right? I was watching Ellen do her monologue at the Oscars, and it was rough. It was rough. She made fun of Liza Minnelli's gender. You know what I mean? She was saying some very disrespectful things. You know what I mean? Some things where she shouldn't have said these things at all. Where if you said those things in a public place, you know what I mean, you would get handled. And nothing happened to Ellen after this. She was not banned. She was not called to the carpet. Nobody came up there and smacked her. Nothing happened. They sat in their seats and they watched the show because that's what she was there for. You know what I mean? And I mean, if you start making fun of people's genders, like that's taking it a whole nother step beyond. You're really taking it too far in my estimation. But this is what they do. Kevin Hart, when he hosted it, he said his things. This is what the comedians do. If you want to go all the way to Bob Hope and the things he would say, I mean, George Carlin, whoever used to host these awards, they're not coming up there to say things that are nice. And I've never seen them say anything nice. Everything is borderline either insulting or disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe the academy needs to look at bringing these comedians on. You know what I'm saying? And they need to basically vet the jokes before they tell them. You know what I mean? So that people are not offended. I think that should have happened years ago. You know what I mean? But I think that I think why people are so disgusted at Will is because they have a community where there's an understanding, right? We have a community that's understanding, there's guidelines. Okay, look, when somebody's being professional and they're doing their bit or they're doing their act, you don't interrupt. You laugh or you don't do anything at all. But to get on that stage and to act out in that way, he had to step down from the academy, which is what he recently did. He had to step down. He had no choice. You know what I mean? Because they basically ostracize him. They don't want him a part of it. So he'd rather step down than them get rid of him. And, that's an honorable move. But the most honorable thing for him to do was to, talk to Chris Rock in the back and say, hey, listen, man, we're going through something right now. I know we're friends, brother. That wasn't cool. Can you just apologize to my wife? Can you go up to her and apologize to her? And that would have been respectable, and everybody would have respected that. And then once that would have happened, guess who would have been in the hot seat instead of Will? Chris would have been in the hot seat. You know what I'm saying? And you would have got exactly what you were looking for. You know what I'm saying? That's why they say when you try to exact revenge, you need to dig two graves. One for the person you're seeking revenge on, and one for yourself. Because it never goes well. You know what I'm saying? Seek solutions and seek to resolve things respectfully, and you won't have this happen to you. Will Smith should be a part of the academy. He's Will Smith. Who wouldn't want him a part of any type of academy or any type of, any type of community? He's Will Smith. But now we're seeing one of the best actors of all time. Forget about a man of color, just one of the best actors of all time, one of the best entertainers, and now he's ostracized off of one act, and it could have all been avoided. And he could have avoided that, and that's what makes it sad. Go ahead, Saida. I'm sorry.
No problem. And you know what? When you said like he would have addressed it in a different way, then Chris will be on the spot now. That's when you realize that what he did is not just a joke. And that's when you realize that okay, so because his action was heavier than the other one, or people think that it was heavier than the other one, but in reality what he was doing is also bad. The joke, even though it was probably not funny for some people, is the biggest form of violence that the United States is going through right now. Bullying is it's one of the, it's a form of violence, and they don't see it because they're like, it's just a joke, and that's the way they took it right now. But when you remove Will Smith from the equation, his action, then it becomes a bigger thing to think about. And that's my point. Like, everybody has to be responsible. The academy, especially, because they are the ones that allow this type of situations. Because if he wouldn't have said something like that, nothing like that would have happened. Probably not there. Someone else would have said something outside, and then Will have reacted anyways. But that's not the thing. The point is, whatever is transmitted on TV, affect people, and that's what it's about. The television programming is to program people for something, to distract them from something specifically. So that's what I think.
Can I jump in here?
I just want to say this
Earlier
one
in
thing.
the show, if you guys, I don't know if everybody saw when the show started, they were making jokes on Jada all night. Okay, because if it's not Amy Schumer, it's the Regina Hall that made some
Regina
really
King. Regina King.
Regina King, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh my gosh. No, yeah, I'm sorry for saying her name.
That's okay.
They were going in on Jada, and Jada was laughing when it was Regina. So I didn't understand like where it went around with Chris Rock, because she was saying really, really disrespectful things in the beginning of that show.
I know why the differentiation. That's what I was gonna say.
And that was where I was trying to figure, okay, you got all this, you got everything in the book for Chris, but then when it was Regina, they were laughing, keying and all of this kind of stuff. So I think that's what kind of shocked people, because Chris joke wasn't even nothing compared to what Regina was talking about. She was talking about the entanglement. She was talking about everything.
That's the
Wow.
differentiation, though. It's because this is where I know everybody said their piece. I want to talk about this portion now. So, Regina, when she was talking, this was all stuff Jada was clearly okay with. She had put out on blast on her little red table talk. And so she was okay with the jokes because she was like, oh, I'd spill that tea myself. I don't care. You know, the entanglement that obviously I do not personally ever think Will was down with the open relationship. They can say whatever they want now, but it was always seemingly very emotional, shocking to him. And so, because I used to watch the Red Table Talk, so you could see his emotions. He was not down with it. And people are trying to justify, well, he cheated first and all that. Cheating is very different from an open relationship. He had an infidelity prior. Okay, maybe they got past that. But then when they supposedly had this open relationship, she was very much glorifying, right, her relationships with Tupac. Her now August Alsina, she was saying she was listing for them and all this. So she's fine with these jokes because Regina was saying, bring the single men up. I want the single men, like it was like Bradley Cooper, Jason Momoa, people who also have their own dirt. But she was like, okay, Will can come up here because y'all single, right? Like it was, like you said, she was okay with that because she allowed that to happen. That's what people are talking about, the toxicity with her. But the Will thing with her hair, she was like, oh, this is not okay because this is not something she was okay with. She had said supposedly like 4 days before she's okay with her bald head, right? She's making peace with it, but she had been very emotional about her alopecia before. But like you said earlier in the evening, Abiola, everyone doesn't know about that, right? A lot of people did not know at all about her alopecia before. My initial reaction when I heard about all this, I first thought like, Mr. Best in the World, that it's inappropriate. He hit the man regardless. The joke was inappropriate, but I feel like it was very targeted, right? Because he definitely did a very good transition from the Javier Bardem, who's married to Penelope Cruz, saying Javier Bardem definitely wants Smith to win, Will Smith, because if his wife doesn't win and he wins, that's not going to be a good look for him. Then he transitioned very quick, which Will was laughing at, right? And then he transitioned to, oh, Jada, love you. And, I can't wait to see you in G.I. Jane, right? Nobody's talking about G.I. Jane from the 90s. Nobody cares about that. It's just hilarious. Like, it was so planned and plotted. And comedians, I know what Sayura is saying, right? That bullying and everything in America. But I love comedy shows. Like, comedians, as you mentioned also, Mr. Best in the World, no one has ever been hit before, like this national stage with a comedian going in, like you mentioned Ellen, and you mentioned I used to love George Carlin. I'm like an old head because my mom and dad are much older. But like also not on the Oscars, but of course Ricky Gervais, he's the most brutal. He was on the Golden Globes 5 times, and he was so brutal. And he would look those people in the eye, and he would say, "I don't care. Like y'all's egos are too big. I don't." That's what they're paid for. Chris Rock wasn't the host, so that's why it's a little more problematic. He was just a presenter, but he's still a comedian, and so that should have come with the territory. But what I was going to highlight that nobody really has been talking about that much, a couple of things. We talked about the hit with Will, violence, right? They say doesn't solve anything, even if you're taking Jada out of the equation, like Saira said, and just any woman, right? The husband defending. And then we've talked about Jada obviously being disrespected. The initial thing I had about that was like Chris Rock, he had done this documentary because of his children and saying that they didn't love their hair as Black women. So he wanted to promote that. But that movie was a long time ago. And so he really like Abby said, he might not have for real known she had alopecia. I think he might slick have because he's already made the comments during her not the Oscars So White saying that Jada wasn't invited, just like I wasn't invited to Rihanna's panties. And so, there was obviously beef. Plus, if we're doing the full 6 degrees of separation we talked about earlier, there's supposedly a rumor that Jada had an affair with Chris Rock, who was filming Madagascar, that little cartoon movie. He was a zebra, she was a hippo. And Demi Moore, ironically, who is G.I. Jane, she was also in there. And they said people on the set knew that they were like in maybe another entanglement. And so there's so many issues.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense because it's more private and it's something they know. And that's why she felt proud of, like, because she even laughed about after he slapped him. Because he went back to his seat, and when he's screaming, she's actually like very calm. She's like, and the lady that is right next to Will, she's like, what is going on? Like, it's not like Jada. Jada's like calm, even laughing about the joke that he said, okay, this was a big, night in the television, whatever. She even laughed at that, when everybody laughed. So that
Yeah,
makes
that
more
was
sense.
Lupita Nyong'o. She was like, "What is going on, y'all? Like, is this a part of the show?"
Exactly. Family, I need to step away. I just want to make it real brief. I just think that, in Hollywood they have a certain way of life and they have a certain agreements and certain things that they do. And I think part of it and part of why that sense of humor, like you saying the Ricky Gervais thing, how brutal he is, I think these things are understood. So I think that's why they ostracized Will so much, because it was something within the community in Hollywood that we don't know nothing about. We're not privy to, right? But it's like obviously in this community, this is okay for people to do. That it's okay for them to be brutal on stage and say these personable things. You know what I mean? And sometimes a lot of things are disrespectful. But I think within Hollywood, they have the understanding that when somebody's on stage, they can say damn near whatever they want, and you
Right.
can't do anything. And and with that, I'll be right back, family. I need to step away.
You're good. You're good. So, another thing that has just come out since I brought up the Good Hair documentary, my initial thing was, yeah, I thought Chris Rock knew about it, even if he may not have. That was just what I thought. But evidently, there was a lady, she is also a woman of color, who was on the documentary that he produced, and she is very angry about him making this joke because she said, we had many conversations about how sensitive alopecia is. And so she was saying, we literally sat on the couch together. You understand how like detrimental this is to anyone that has this, but particularly from a woman. She had chosen not to wear a wig after losing her hair because she said, she didn't want to hide that, and that she was going to be accepting of that, and thought that she was beautiful. So she was very disappointed, and so she said that she wasn't that surprised that she says Chris Rock got rocked by Will Smith after making that medical condition on Jada Pinkett Smith, in his comedic shtick. And she said, shame on you. Didn't we sit down and talk at length about how painfully humiliating and difficult it is to navigate life as a bald woman in a society that is hair obsessed, as if life isn't challenging enough out here as an unprotected Black woman. So again, her name is, let me make sure, Sheila Bridges. And so she was in his 2009 documentary. So I'm going to stop sharing that for a moment. Again, we've talked until we're blown in the face about Will Smith in the slap, about Chris Rock and how he did or didn't react appropriately, because he could have gotten violent back, or, he was in shock. He didn't really react. But also everyone else has been commenting, right? Like Jim Carrey mentioned things. And then, of course, it came out that he had disrespected, they said on stage, I guess, Alicia Silverstone when she was younger. Then they had I guess Alec Baldwin, because he's a comedian as well, commented, even though he's in scandal about shooting the lady on the set. I guess it was Zoe Kravitz, right? That's the new Catwoman. She commented, but then of course her family has been involved in drama, and evidently she had tried to hit on Jaden when he was like 14 or something. So it's like everyone getting involved, yet they have their own skeletons in the closet, very much so. But one thing I feel has not really been addressed, people have been waiting for, is Chris Rock's full commentary about it, how he feels, whatever, everything. So in my research, obviously it was last night, it was Wednesday night. He had a comedy show, his first show since the Oscars in Boston. And it was like leaked, it was audio saying that he was like, I had a whole show written before my weekend, so I'm not going to come up here and talk shit about this. I later will. I'm processing it. And it's already, he has paused, right? He has controlled himself on the stage after he acted a fool with the joke, yes. But after the hit, he could have, accosted him back, run after him, talked a bunch of stuff, but he didn't do that. So I wondered psychologically why he didn't. And there's a very logical reason for it that I have found. So my boyfriend, he's a huge comedic fan, and he looked up comedians who have looked at it from a well-rounded perspective, not just, I'm afraid I'm going to get hit on the stage now because I'm a comedian. So Howard Stern, I know everybody knows him, his controversy from a long time back. He had Chris Rock on his show before, and there's a video that has surfaced And I want to show a portion of that through fair use. So I'm going to share the screen. But it's very telling about his mental health, about bullying. Again, what Saira had mentioned earlier, what he has experienced and why he intentionally, very intentionally controls his anger because he doesn't want it to go to this level. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up. Sorry, y'all. Again, fair use. So I'm going to pull this part up. So this was, again, him on the Howard Stern show for an interview. This was in 2020. So here we go.
This learning disorder and everything. I mean, is it just you're an open book and you said, fuck it, I'm just up.
So again, Chris Rock revealed on this show that he has a non-verbal learning disorder, first and foremost. Secondly, let's hear the rest.
Open book and fuck it. This is who I am. And by the way, it's also a way of apologizing to a lot of people without having to call them up. Because come on, I'm a total fucking weirdo. Anybody that knows me has been around me. It's like, what's up with that guy? It's a little.
So he goes on to say that, again, fair use, that he is like having people all the time asking him, do you like me? You're being disrespectful to me all the time, even his friends. And so like comedians like David Spade, like Dana Carvey, that he knows really well, Adam Sandler, he has this learning processing disorder. And so he literally has issues with things from that perspective, first of all. Let's continue a little further on.
Something to do with my work. I'm the baddest motherfucker alive.
I'm going to go back for a moment.
If it's got something to do with it's only about telling jokes. If it's got something to do with my work, I'm the baddest motherfucker alive. But anything else, it's like I just feel not worthy of anyone's attention, anyone's love, any accolades, it's just anything.
So he had said right before that, I didn't go back far enough, that he was extremely egotistical, but only with his comedy. So he's very confident, but only with comedy. Everything else, he has horrific self-esteem issues. And so his comedy is intentional, I still think that joke was very intentional. He knew what he was saying. He knew what he was doing. I don't know. I like regular people, right? Like Abiola said, right? She didn't know necessarily she had alopecia. I think with all his beef history, I feel like he really did know this. And if he's so egotistical and confident about his comedy, I really think he knew this. But his self-esteem issues stem from something super specific. And we're going to talk about that on another portion. So he went to therapy. Let me pull this portion up. And so let's see. Oh,
I can write jokes about it, but I never dealt with it. That was just a horrible existence. The closest.
So you just saw the picture of him when he was younger. He went to an all-white school. Howard Stern similarly went to an all-black school. So they have something in common. And they both talked about how traumatic it was, how they were bullied, how Chris Rock actually said he in the entire interview, again, fair use. You can go watch it on your own if you would like to later. He mentions that not only was he bullied severely by the white children he went to school with, like beaten, but he also said he was not raped, but it was rape-ish. So there was definitely even sexual assault. So again, he has definitely mental trauma that he's gone to therapy. He's tried to address, but in the interview, he goes on to say he was bullied so badly. His siblings were as well, even though he's small. People have addressed that so much disrespectfully to him, perhaps even saying, oh, Will Smith knew he could come for him because Chris Rock is a little man. He's weak. He said that he was like the protector in his family. His younger siblings would go to him. He would go protect them if they were being bullied, and he had been bullied. So they related. One time he went so far as to take a brick in his backpack, beat a child so badly they were about to die, Chris Rock. So he said he holds back his anger on purpose normally because he doesn't want to kill someone, like because his anger is so deep. And he knows that psychologically, mentally, everything with his brutal bullying that he experienced, that his family experienced. T Blaze in the chat said, Chris also talks about him being bullied. Yep, exactly. That's what we're just talking about. According to him, he beat someone up really bad. Yep. He mentioned in that interview right there that he beat the person so bad they were thinking they were going to die. His family was thinking they needed to take him to the South to escape, basically, so he wouldn't get arrested. They didn't wind up dying, but anyway, so his intentionally, very much so, not being volatile, not being angry, not addressing violence that he wants to do. But he talks about it in that interview again with Howard Stern. And then if you're also interested in that interview, he went into great depth with his other comedic friends, Dana Carvey and Chris Rock was talking, and they were talking about it separately later without him, David Spade and Dana Carvey. That was the one I just put in the chat. And then the one I mentioned earlier, of course, was him being interviewed on Howard Stern. So that's just another perspective, right, about mental health, about bullying, about not knowing fully until someone comes out and says it, right, how they are processing something, why they're not saying something immediately, even though the world wants instantaneous reactions and everything. That's not healthy, right? And you should address yourself in your therapy and not react like Will did. And Chris, made a mistake as well, right, with the joke. But okay, other perspectives on that. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, you mind if I say something?
No, okay. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. So here's the thing, man. This is a lot to talk about, but I'm glad that you guys did the research on it because, yeah, it is like very deep. So I'm just gonna break down with Chris. I was gonna call him Chris Rock. So it makes like a whole lot of sense to why he didn't react the way that he did when Will slapped him. It takes a lot of emotional intelligence and discipline to not fire back at someone who physically assaults you, not just personally, but publicly, in front of millions who are watching you. And I know it's going to be a lot of pressure on him because to the ignorant ones who are watching, they're going to look at him like he's weak. And then, of course, they're going to also shame him from a joke that was considered to be insensitive, all because Jada didn't take the joke very well and because of the alopecia thing. Now, here's the thing. I guarantee that at least maybe somewhere near 50% or 60% of the people probably did not even know that Jada had alopecia until it was said after the Oscars. Let me ask you ladies this. Did you know before the Oscars that Jada had alopecia?
I mentioned it earlier. I thought it was a style because she always cuts her hair, even when she was on the various shows. So that's when they said she had alopecia. I was kind of shocked.
Right.
She had mentioned it, and she said that's why. I think she said that's why she cut her hair so much because she had it.
Yeah, I only knew because I have watched her previous Red Table Talk, so I did know because she had gone in great depth saying how it had emotionally affected her. But that's the only reason, because she revealed it on that show, like she reveals a lot. But everyone doesn't watch that show, so they wouldn't have known. Right?
The Smith family just talk too much. They need to be like the Kardashian and just go away. Like, take a timer. Like, we had enough of them.
What the problem is that they have no choice but to be an open book, especially after the incident between Will, Jada, and August Alsina. And that's what kind of brought most of their personal business out there to the light, because the guy was already writing songs and he was already planning to tell it all anyways. And so for probably what they thought was, okay, if I could beat him to it before it goes public, then the embarrassment will probably be even lesser, because now we're the ones who are being open and clean. But people are not stupid. People really overanalyze and they think things through. And when they put two and two together, I mean, yeah, you would try to be like you're like the most righteous person when you know that your dirt is about to be highlighted out in the public. Now, I'm gonna go back to Chris Rock. I'm sorry, Chris Rock for a second. All right, man, I'm getting his last name all mixed up. Anyways, all right. So when you're dealing with a lot of trauma and anger issues, you're the type of person by default you don't want to fight, but there's a what's it called, fright or flight type of thing, something like that.
Flight or
Whereas like
Mm-hmm.
flight or fight. Okay, if he's in that type of mode where he feels his last option now or only option that he has to fight, he don't want to like delete nobody. You know what I mean? He don't want it to get ugly, especially if he has some type of history between him and Will.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to also say this too, though. Will still had no right to put his hands on Chris Brock. I'm sorry, Chris Rock. Why I keep saying Chris Brock or Chris Brown? I want to say Chris Brown so bad, but anyways, that's why the Brock is coming out. So Will, the only reason why he targeted Chris Rock is because he knew that Chris Rock is an easy target. And when you're in a prestige place like the Oscars, you know that if you slap him, it would have been a lose-lose situation for Chris Rock. If he had attacked you back, he would have lost out maybe endorsements or on his back, with the Oscars. He would have been escorted out for something that he had no choice but to defend himself. So I feel like that was just the most easiest way from him to attack. But I'm always going to still say this. Where was that energy, that emotional energy when it came to August, when it came to Rick Ross, when it came to Future? And all these people, and even Regina King herself, when all these people are sitting there making fun of your relationships, why is he not putting that same energy into his wife, who is publicly embarrassing him? Like, no wife should even speak on the public that your sex game is terrible in bed. Why that has to be known to us? We don't care. So why are you bringing that up? So, although I still say that, Will has let that go on too far, and he is responsible for it. But Jada also has to hold herself accountable into that part. But the thing is, you're choosing the wrong type of woman to really rock with you in your corner. And I think he has to mentally assess that, look, the relationship has ran its course. She don't have that type of respect for you. I mean, she has respect for a dead person more than she has respect for Will. So that's the problem right there where it lies at. He has to really just take his L's and possibly move on.
That's what some of my students said. They were like, their kids are too old to try to use the excuse of staying together for the kids, and they obviously are not working.
I think because his first marriage failed, he feels like he has to hold on to this one. But what are you holding on to? Like, it makes no sense. I don't know. These two are a piece of work. That's all I can say.
Quantum Love did also add a good point to it. He admitted to blackballing Aunt Viv, the dark-skinned one, for many years. She couldn't get work because he lied about her to the industry people. I'm going to also say this, though, and for people who are fans of Will, this is going to be the hard truth of it. All the stuff that's happening, even though on the reunion show, him and Aunt Viv had, reconciliation, but however, karma was still hit. And I know this is going to sound silly, but when you ruin someone's reputation like that for years, and you cause them to lose out on their bag, and now people, their family turn on them, friends turn on them, people like the world turn on that poor lady, and now many years later, you're pretty much like getting cast away out from a certain crowd because of your actions. And now you're dealing with a lot of turmoil within your marriage. sometimes some of these things happen because of what you did to that person for so many years. And karma has his way of like hitting things at a slow pace.
So yeah, someone T Blaze Brown just said, it seems to me Chris didn't react to Will because he may have thought of people he is responsible for and his bullied past reaction. Yeah, that's what those two videos that I shared part of earlier with the fair use, those both address definitely his past, how he was bullied. I feel Chris Rock, even though he made the joke, he is a comedian. I feel like he has dealt with his own like therapy, mental health, definitely more than what evidently Will has, because of how he was able to use self-control to not hit that man back, he literally hasn't said anything negative really about Will. In fact, at that comedy show, people were cursing Will out in the show saying F Will Smith, and he shut it down. He was like, nope, we're not doing that right now. So he's like, I'm going to process this. I'm going to talk about it. I do feel like it's going to be a huge joke and everything later. But right now he's processing it because of how he had been bullied in the past. And he's getting dragged right now as well. He's getting talked about atrociously. And like you said, M3 being called weak, even though some people are like, oh, this shows Will can't take a joke and Chris can take a hit. But, there's all kind of opinions about it.
Right.
You know what? Another way to see it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For some reason, I like to flip things. What if I agree that Chris Rock it handled really well. Even his body language said a lot. Like he's so calm. Like his hands are behind. Like he's not expecting that. Like he's not even in protection mode or anything like that. Not even after he showed like not even one expression that says that there was aggressivity or aggression coming up from him. Not at all. But that could also be because he's been bullied before. A bigger bully came up and handled the situation, and now he feels the same way that he felt when he was being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
So that could also be, and that's why he needs to process. Is it because I'm handling my emotion, or is it because I'm letting another bully me again?
Mm-hmm.
It could also be that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because his comedy reflects like he has to be the first one, the first word, and sometimes the last word. He just didn't get the last word really that night. I mean, he got to say stuff afterwards, like, I just got the shit slapped out of me by Will Smith. It's the best night in TV. But ultimately, Will got to address it again when he won the Oscar. And then, of course, they said there were rumors, right, that they did ask him to leave. He refused, but now it came out today that the producer said no, he was not asked to leave. Chris Rock said he didn't want that. They asked him what he wanted, and he said no. So all these like news things that want to be the first to report something, they're getting like, oh, some insider said this, and they don't get the whole story until, it's too late and they've already reported it, but it's false information.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is it's a bit too much, because the thing is, at that night of the Oscar, nobody is talking about Will winning. Number one, nobody is talking for the first time in history. Will Packard was the first Black person to produce the Oscar. None of those things are mentioned. Nothing is mentioned about the Oscars. All we are talking about, think about it tonight. All we talked about was Jada, Will, and their situation. Nobody talked about him winning, because he just made what he did overshadow everything, and the Smith made it about them.
Yep.
So the whole Oscar, nobody can remember who won anything. You can ask somebody that is grown that watched it, who won the best actor, won the best actress, what was the best movie. They cannot tell you none of those things due to the fact that it was overshadowed by one incident. And the one incident is probably going to cost them, some money, because people might not want to, like I said earlier, want to work with them, because you don't know if this is a one-time thing with Will, or he is volatile and he can pop off at any other time. Because if he can just walk up on stage and slap somebody, what can he do on a set? Those are things you got to think about now. And if you got mental, like we spoke about mental health, we had a whole show on it. Go get yourself taken care of, because it's not a thing that you hide anymore. You don't have to hide that I need help. go get help. If you gotta fall back and be like, yo, there's too much going on in my life right now that I need to get some help. I'm gonna step away from this spotlight. That whole, and are they still having the Red Table Talk series going on?
I mean, they were. I don't know now what will happen.
So we having a whole discussion at a table and all this stuff. They just need to fall back, focus, like the young man said earlier. Focus on your family for once instead of having everything out there. Just come together and be like, we need to work as a cohesive unit, and we need to focus on us, get us together before we can even present ourselves back to the world so they can see a whole. She talking about now it's time for healing, but you were laughing and kikiing when your husband went up there and slapped that man because they got videos. Somebody took a video from the back that is showing now on screen of she kikiing. Now she talking about healing because she saw the video. Like it's too many contradiction going on. It is too much. Like it's too much.
T Blaze put in the comments, which we addressed this earlier.
Yeah,
Has anyone?
I did see that. I did see the Will Packard interview.
Yeah, that was what I mentioned
charges
earlier. Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier, is that the producer, which was Will Packer, which Abiola just mentioned was the first Black producer, he said that he asked Chris Rock, did he want to press charges? And he said no. He said, do you want us to remove Will Smith? And he said no. So they did not ask him to leave, and he didn't refuse, right? They didn't even, like, that didn't come to that level. So that wasn't at all. That was misrepresented and inaccurately reported prior. Let's see. Quantum Love said, shout out to Chris, and then said they turned that whole night to focus on them and their rituals on public display. Exactly. I know what that open-handed downward slap means. That's what I know. I was going to say, that's the interview I saw with those two sports individuals. They mentioned in the Black community that the slap is more disrespectful than a punch. In the community I was part of, obviously, if you are a man and you slap someone versus punch someone, that's like, a weak move, but that's evidently supposed to have been more disrespectful for him to slap him versus punch him. So, also, what was the other portion? Oh, what you mentioned earlier, Abiola. The literal whole point of Chris Rock being up there to present an award had nothing to do with Will Smith, had nothing to do with Jada. It was supposed to be for Best Documentary, and that also was horrifically ruined for Questlove. And that documentary is epic, that Summer of Soul. So that was another person that was disregarded that night that, they gave a poignant speech, but barely anyone can remember that or talking about that at all because it's just totally overshadowed with the nonsense. Well, I have loved hearing everyone's perspectives tonight on all these different topics. We went all over the world. Next week, I'm going to highlight this comment. We are going to be, I mentioned earlier, discussing hopefully a win for Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I want you, even if she doesn't win, we're still going to be celebrating women pioneers or women who did something first, women from all backgrounds next week. So if you want to get that in the chat, there's a Google form. Anyone's able to put in who you would want to hear from about, right? Women pioneers for next week. So I'm excited to see what people put, excited to see people's input. And that is it for tonight, you all. I hope you had a great night. I loved hearing everyone's opinion on all the different topics. Thank you for showing up and showing out on your opinions.
Thanks, you guys. You guys have a great weekend.
Thank y'all. You too.
Thank you. You do as well. Bye.
All right. I'll help you close it out, Jessica.
Thank you so much, M3.
No problem. This has always been the most tedious part because every time I try to close it out, I gotta scroll down and look for the outro.
I know.
Somebody made one last comment. Let me read that real quick. Oh, wait, a few more. Okay, so we have compliments. This is hell yeah, I can't wait to see that. Okay. Excuse me. Jessica, do you mind if you post a link one more time?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Apex. Excellent. Thank you for representing, helping us out tonight, giving us a lot of love in the chat. Truth is never favored as well. Thank you for the support tonight. Of course, thank you to our guests. Sayera, and then Queens always coming through. I appreciate all of your help and loved hearing all your perspectives. Okay, let me see if it'll let me recopy that. Okay, there's the form.
Okay. Oh, you're both okay. Good. Thank you. All right. Let me see. Bring Jessica back. Of course. Jessica. All right.
Oh my God.
Great show as always. Knowledge and relationships. And then Saida herself says, "Thank you all." Okay. All right. So everybody stick around for the after show. But anyways, thank you so much, and I will help play the outro. So peace, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.